NRL. The Dolphins and Knights will do battle next week for 8th position, with the Dragons and Raiders both praying to the footy gods for a draw in that game, or maybe for 100 points. Sean Johnson, he gets a win in his final game, and Ron Coote is named as the 14th Immortal. We'll talk all things rugby league heading into the last round and into finals. AFL finals are already set. They'll kick off Thursday night, and the All-Australian team has been announced. We'll have a look at the team. We'll have a look at the snubs and talk all things Aussie rules footy. Bit of cricket going on at the moment. Joe Root is good at cricket, confirmed. We'll have a look at him compared to the other 3 members of the Fab Four and how he's tracking, certainly the best of the lot over the last 3 years. And poor old Will Pucosky announces his retirement. We'll have a look at the career that could have been for Will. NFL season about to start. It starts Friday our time. The Ravens are taking on the Chiefs. We'll talk about our Super Bowl and MVP picks, plus have a look at the college football action that happened today. EPL is underway, or 3 games in, actually. City are on top, and Everton in trouble already. And Raheem Sterling joins Gunners. Chelsea paying for a fair bit of that one. Plus the final round featuring a bit of Biff's F1, tennis and golf. This is On The Esky, an Aussie sports podcast. We like our Aussie sports. We also like our US sports. We like to have a bit of a laugh and a dribble. We have timestamps on YouTube. You can skip to the sports that you like or just watch the whole damn thing. And we do have socials. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook and the like. We'd like to start the show by shouting a beer. Shauno, who have you got this week?
I've got a couple, but I'm going to start with Cam McCormick. He scored a touchdown today in college football. What's impressive about that, it's his 9th year.
Incredible.
After having multiple years of extra eligibility through season-ending injuries, COVID period, etc. He first arrived at Oregon with Justin Herbert, who's now been in the NFL for 4 years, I think, and that was during the Obama administration. So,
that seemed like a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's a lifetime ago.
He's now at Miami, but he was the first player ever to get his 9th year. So it was good to see him score a touchdown today in the opening week of college football. He's a tight end as well. So, I don't know what his NFL aspirations are looking like, but he's definitely lived up the college life.
So how did that actually come about? Season-ending injuries, how do they decide the eligibility and him going around so many times?
Yeah, I'm not 100% up on college football eligibility, but I think you get to do your base kind of 4 years for your college and your degree. If you transfer and or get injuries, then you potentially earn an extra year, because usually if you transfer, you have to sit out, but they kind of change those rules in the transfer portal recently, but maybe in his first couple of years he might have had to sit out for that process. Then of course if you get injured and you miss a whole season, then they can give you a year back for eligibility, and then the bonus for that is they gave extra eligibility through the COVID period as well.
Okay, yep.
So I think combination of all that stuff is how he led to having 9 years in college football.
It becomes the Billy Madison of college football. I'm just having a look here. He has been absolutely decimated by injury. So 2018, broken left fibula, torn deltoid ligament, that's ankle. 2019, ankle screw malfunction. So it sounds like one of his surgeries. They probably had to pull out the old screw and put another one in. Then he went under an ankle reco in 2020. 2021, he tore his Achilles. 2020.
Is this all on the same foot as well? Or?
I don't know.
It's definitely all lower legs. So
it's all ankles.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's all. I don't know. It says it's left for the top bit. Some sort of tendonitis, ankle pain. It actually doesn't say here if that's left or right.
No, that one's right foot.
And then Achilles is right. Good eyes. So, yeah, both ankles been through hell. Then he transfers over to Miami
last year.
And scored a touchdown today. Hell, he has 3 previously. So
seasons is missed.
Yeah. So he had four previously. So today is touchdown number 5 after a horrendous run with injury. Good on you, Cam McCormick. It's certainly worth a beer there.
Yeah. And the other one I wanted to do was Harris Burton. He won his first NASCAR Cup Series win at Daytona last week on Monday. One day for us. What was really impressive about that was his old man Jeff was sitting in commentary. He was doing the commentary, so it was pretty impressive to see their son, who doesn't have a driver for next year, hasn't won a race, has been kind of middle of the pack, managed to work his way up to the front, get get his first win. And then, having your old man who's a bit of a legend on the commentary as well. Your mum's in attendance, and it was the scenes, of course, after winning such a massive race over there. So I thought that was pretty impressive. And leading up to that race, they did confirm for us, the Australian. Well, actually, no, Kiwi.
We'll claim him,
we'll claim him in NASCAR. SVG has confirmed he's got a full-time job for next year in the Cup Series, so running exclusively in that. So that's be pretty impressive. Unfortunately for him, his engine blew up in that race. So
poor fella.
But otherwise, it was a pretty exciting little race.
Interesting that you're talking about Jeff Burton commentating for his son Harrison Burton. Very reminiscent of the Fox sisters, who we just saw in the Olympics, taking home some gold, and may get a mention in the podcast for another reason.
Yes. What about you, Peppy?
Yeah, I'm going to shout a non-alcoholic beer, or if he wants to go to Europe or somewhere where 16-year-olds are allowed to have a beer, he can have one.
But he's also got to be careful he doesn't have too many.
Well,
he doesn't want to blow out his gout, that's for sure. Old gout, or young gout, I should say. Aussie teen track sensation. He has just won a silver medal at the Under-20s World Championships in the 200. How's the time? 20.6 the bloke's run, and he kind of missed the start as well. So
the winner I think was 20.52,
and it's under 20s.
It's under 20s as well.
So the winner from South Africa, I'm assuming, if you want to maybe chase that up,
he was 22 months older.
Is a fair bit up. There we go. Yeah. So Gout's probably going to get to go and
imagine him as an 18-year-old.
And well,
Brisbane Fast, he'll be 20.
He's going to be at the big boy Olympics probably by the time he's 19 or 20. You'd think, and his 100 time is starting to get real low. He's run a 10.29. So by 17, 18, you'd hope he's running sub 10s.
Yeah, and like you said, the highlights of that back half of that race, he was sitting like 8th after the start, and when they turned the corner, and he just put the jets on and really closed the distance. So bright future there for Australia athletics. To get a running medal would be quite impressive for us.
Male sprinting. Jeez, it's not in our lifetime. No, I don't think.
No, we've had a few guys try it. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
No one's really even remotely been in medal chance.
You know what's crazy as well? 16, Brisbane, he'll be 24. He's going to be
prime.
He's going to be prime for Brizzy, and we'll see how he goes in LA. It's pretty rare, I think, for a 20-year-old to medal in the 100 metres. But Brizzy, watch out.
Yep.
All right, Monks, who you got?
Yes. I have got Shohei Ohtani. So he's the first player ever to hit the 43 home run, 43 stolen bases in a single or same season, beating the A-Rod of not tripping on ayahuasca fame, who did it back in 1998. He got 42-42 for the season. So, massive props to Ohtani there, just going year on year, just improving on all the accolades that he's already accomplished in the MLB.
Yeah, we don't talk heaps of baseball on this show. I don't watch a whole heap, but every single time we talk about baseball, it seems we're talking about Shohei Ohtani. So it's pretty incredible. What's been going on. Obviously, the huge back-ended deal that he signed last year. And then we were talking about him a few months ago for some unfortunate reasons having to do with a friend or ex-friend and gambling and whatnot. But
probably ex-friend now.
Possibly. A translator it was, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But seems that it's not really affecting his play on the field, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. In saying that, he's clawing back some of that money that he's lost over the years. He signed a new deal with the trading card company Topps. So he's bringing in more and more cash.
Does it say how much that deal's worth?
No, it's
undisclosed.
Not that I could see. No,
just
bulk. Probably just exclusive rights for whatever he does. No dollar value.
Yeah, no dollar value there. Breaking news: Shohei Ohtani bulk coin
making dollars.
Yeah,
shock.
And with I don't know how far into the season they are, but by all accounts, it looks like he's aiming for 50-50. So it'd be massive accomplishment.
Yeah, so he's just going to shatter all records.
Yeah.
Where are we for start of September? So they've probably got a couple of weeks left. Are they into their playoffs?
No, I don't think they've started playoffs yet.
That'd be
probably
close.
a month away from that.
I wonder how it works as well. Does it have to be regular season? Like, do they count the playoffs?
Good question.
Good question.
Get at us in the comments if you know baseball. From Shadowbeer over to some horrendous news coming out of the States over the weekend. Ice hockey star Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matt were killed by a suspected drunk driver. Obviously horrendous for anyone to die on the roads. The circumstances on this one, the day before their sister's wedding, and obviously the wedding got postponed to let them all grieve and process the news. And a big one, obviously, for hockey fans, losing a current NHL player. So horrendous news there. We don't, again, much like baseball, talk heaps of hockey there, but saw this come out Friday night and was with some mates that are into their hockey and obviously knew the name and horrendous scenes. Thinking of that whole family. But from one crash to another crash, what happened in the F1? This was a bit more lighthearted.
Yeah, they had the safety car out doing laps in practice. I think it was FP1. And he was just coming a bit hot to the corner and lost the back tyres and slid off, hit the gravel. And once you hit the gravel, it doesn't really slow down too much. And he got smashed straight into the barrier. So,
what kind of speeds are we talking about here with this? How fast does the safety car go?
It can do some decent kilometres. So he was probably booking it probably 150, 170 down that straight in that corner.
That is a lot quicker than I thought.
Yeah, it's got to move. Like, it looks slow compared to how quickly the F1 cars go. But yeah, for comparison to a normal road car, it was definitely moving. Yeah, and they've gone flying into the wall and had to cancel the session essentially. Luckily, everyone was okay. It was just, it's very rare you see a safety car having an accident.
Have you guys ever seen? You guys watched a lot more F1 than I have.
I think maybe some breakdowns, but I don't think I've seen any fly off into the walls like that.
Definitely not in recent times.
Give us the top speed there. This is blowing my mind.
Top max speed of 202 miles per hour.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
360 kilometres an hour?
300.
300,
yeah.
Still fucking fast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, one really tragic crash over the weekend and one slightly less tragic. We'll talk a bit of F1 later in the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, boys, let's talk some rugby league.
Hey, Jimmy, can you check your internet on your phone, your Wi-Fi?
We'll chat. We'll see how this is going in terms of the stream, but when we're listening back. Cowboys 38 beat the Storm 30 at Queensland Thursday night. It was a storm, not quite Rezzies, but certainly
they rested
the 1.5s. So they rested Jerome Hughes, Harry Grant, Warbrick, Nas, Katoa, Liero, and a few more.
But they forced Munster to play. So.
It's injuries. So Pappenhausen, Munster coming off massive injuries, need to get some run in their legs, etc., etc. But the Storm couldn't quite get that one done. And it means the Cowboys can finish fifth. They can't finish fourth, I don't think, from having a look at the ladder before. Cronulla's points difference too good, even if they do have a loss next weekend. Cowboys home elimination final is certainly looking likely. You feel sorry for whichever Sydney team runs into them up there.
Yes. Yep.
Could be the Dolphins. Friday night, Manly beat the Bulldogs 34-22. That was DCE and Garrick steering them to victory there. Manly do play Sharks next week and Dogs Cowboys. So some interesting permutations could certainly happen for the top 8. Yeah,
it was pretty interesting with this game with how, say, red hot the Dogs had been leading into this. But yeah, it's
a little bit flat.
Yeah, they were definitely a little bit flat. They scored first, I believe, in this, from what I remember watching, Reid Marnie. And then after that, I think Turbo kind of, as Turbo does, puts him on his back. Had a few try assists and a few scores himself. So Manly was a little bit of a dark horse when
you just don't know which Manly's going to show up week in, week out, do you?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it depends on injuries as well.
Yeah, 100%. For them. When they're all fit and ready to go, I wouldn't want to run into them in finals time. You look at that points difference as well, probably that speaks volumes to it. 13 wins, 1 draw, 9 losses, but points difference 133. Pretty handy and can score a few points, that's for sure. Friday night, Penrith beat South 34-12 at Bluebet. No Nathan Cleary, obviously. Has been injured since the last pod. Little shoulder subluxation there. Looks like he'll be right to go. They'll probably want him back in a fortnight.
I think if they want to win, go deep and win the grand final, they're going to have Nathan Cleary. Otherwise,
sooner rather than later.
Storm are heavy favourites. I don't think anyone. The others have to be healthy, otherwise Storm will run away with it. Having
said that, Jerome Luai has shown time and time in again this season that he's very good without Nathan Cleary. That's obviously been one of the monkeys on his back in recent memory, and Isaiah pretty good in this one too. Look to go week one. They're not going to get knocked out, and they'll have a home final. Maybe they can beat the Chooks or Sharks, wherever they run into there at home. But by the time they're running into Melbourne, you'd certainly want Cleary fit and ready to go.
Exactly.
Few storylines out of this one, for the wrong reasons. We'll start with Latrell, which was just the lead up into the week. White powder photo last weekend, Snapchats, few people in the media's names getting thrown into it there. It's all unconfirmed anyways, how it eventually ended up getting leaked. But certainly appears to be ingesting a substance. Fined 20 grand, misses a game.
Yeah, I think that was the NRL fine. I think Souths fined him extra.
But so copped the double whammy?
Yeah, double whammy for that. But I guess, being at a coaching clinic, having to deal with other people's kids all day, you might need a little pick-me-up. So, but if you're going to do that, do it with people you trust.
Live on Twitch.
Video it for prosperity's sake.
Look, it's NRL. I don't particularly find it news. Obviously, media is going to have a field day. One of the biggest stars in the NRL and one of the biggest players that media like to bash as well. I'm not condoning it. I'm just not surprised.
Yeah, exactly. It's still illegal, but we know, as we know, across the NRL and the AFL, it's something that they like to dabble in.
Something that was interesting here as well, Friday night, Freddie doing the rounds for the wrong reasons. I don't know if they've had such a palpably awkward moment in live TV that I can remember in recent memory.
Yeah, not recently.
If you haven't seen it, check it out. Freddie on camera, middle between Jess Fox and Naomi Fox, who have just come home with 3 gold medals between the two of them from the Paris Olympics.
Yep.
And was trying to just break the ice, make a joke, fucking missed on all accounts. Something regarding Kiss Cam. Jess's face in particular, quite funny. She's just like, oh my God. And then they realise it's live. So I think Freddie knows it's live. I don't know if the girls do. Check it out for yourselves. It's awkward.
It's very awkward, very creepy. Freddie should know better.
All right, boys, let's go into Saturday, a massive day in terms of finals implications and just in terms of points and weird scenes in rugby league.
Yeah.
Strange old game in Western Sydney. We got the first one of the weekend, a very frustrating game for two Dragons fans here on the panel. Dragons go down 40 points to 44 at Combank Stadium in a game that was horrendously one-sided for 70 minutes and then very unusual for the last 10. A few howlers early on from Ravalawa, back in the side after missing a fair bit. I think Tupolotto had a hammy, maybe. He was a late out. Anyways, Ravalawa comes in, not his best. His Fijian opposite, Mike Acevo, looking very, very good. I think 2 metres out from the line is probably the hardest man to stop in rugby league. There's a few that come to mind, but just bumping blokes and the strength that he has to finish, it's incredible. The first of his hat trick was his 100th try. It doesn't actually feel like he's been in the league all that long. I think I was having a look. It's 2019, I believe, that he come in. Can you chase that up? Maybe 2018. It's not that long. So the fact that he's got 100 and has actually missed a fair bit of footy through injury is incredible. Dylan Brown, very good early on as well. 3 try assists, 175 odd run meters. And Parry led 26 at the half and 44-12 in the 70th minute. I actually cracked the shits at about 60. I was like, fuck this. This is our season. We're playing a team that's coming dead last. So
I need to win.
So. I'm going for a run. I was out there running and listening to music, and I just had the text coming through. And I checked my phone. I thought, what in God's name has happened here? 44-40. Some poor kicking probably for Para as well, made it a bit closer than it needed to be.
Yeah.
But there was 5 tries in the last 10 minutes. Watching the KO mini today, 70th minute, 73rd, 77, 78, 80. Elect to not take the conversion at the end to try and get the ball back. They get it off the kick-off, one last dice roll, but weren't able to go the length of the field. So Matt Finney ends up with a hattie, Tyrell Sloan double, and pretty good in that one. Dragons, we'll get to him in just a second. Did you find Sivo debut there? It's 2019.
2019, yep.
It's incredible. So 114 games, 102 tries he has now. It's a pretty handy strike rate. He's 30, so he's not going to be breaking any try scoring records. But yeah, when they said 100 tries, I was like, geez, it feels like it's happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it has. Dragons fan next to me, thoughts? Losing like that to Para?
Yeah. I missed the first half. I'm glad I did.
Yeah, you watched the right half.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, yeah. Look, where do we place them at the start of the season?
Yeah, that's a good way to do it, and it's probably the way that I've been thinking of it the last few years. Like last year, I was like, the goal is not to get the spoon.
Yep.
Did a great job in that.
Yeah.
And then just gradually just build up hope, and now I'm thinking, we're gonna make the top 8. Dragons haven't made the top 8 in Mike Acevo's career.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I think, and just getting the hopes up, and to be that flat in a must-win game.
Yeah.
Before the Cronulla game last week, they were like $1.50 to make the top 8. All they had to do was they could lose to Cronulla or beat Cronulla, and that would have been good. Go out and beat the team coming last, and the Raiders have actually come pretty good there.
They had a half decent run home, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But looking at it, I was like, this is doable. This is doable. Now we'll get into the nitty gritty of it in a second. It's essentially impossible.
Yeah. No, that's it. Especially, again, kind of going back to how they started the season and how bad they were playing. And they picked it up in the middle of the season, got on that good run, and then sort of just gone back to form, I suppose. I think when you, Sean, pointed out the other day that the Broncos could probably get in, I was like, looking at it, I'm like, that's actually a possibility. Yeah,
well, they needed to beat the Finns, of course.
That's before the game this weekend, but just looking at the run home and just the form of the teams was,
incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
I feel they have been a little bit banged up towards the end of the year, but it's the rugby league season. Most teams are. And for them to just not get off the bus in the first half an hour. There's a couple things that didn't go their way, which and I'm not going to blame referees or anything when you're getting drubbed like that, which maybe in terms of morale, when they went in at halftime, think, fuck, I don't think we're actually been 26-6 down bad. Like they had one disallowed try for a blatant obstruction, fair enough. One which I thought looked like a try where it got ripped out, and they ruled it was a rake into Finney and therefore a knock on. So there was a couple like within 10 minutes, so it could have been a bit closer than 26-6.
Yeah.
But it was just disappointing as a Dragons fan who is going to Cogra next week to watch the Raiders game. And
it doesn't matter.
Draw's not impossible.
Yeah.
Well, the fact is they won't know because they play first. They won't know.
They have to win, and then you have to go watch and bring your popcorn and hope for a draw. Yeah.
That's it.
Let's talk some Dolphins and Brisbane in the Battle of Brisbane.
Yeah, teams that had their season on the line and
didn't get off the bus.
Yeah, Brisbane got absolutely hammered. They did have Adam Reynolds back for this, but even still, the Finns were just too good. The hammer was electric as usual.
Right, he's so good.
Yeah, and Herbie Farnworth, against their former team there, against the big brother in the Broncos, put him to the sword.
To that as well, Wayne Bennett made some last-minute changes to the lineup as well, so probably a bit of smoke.
Hammer played centre, didn't he?
Yeah, he played centre. Yeah, so
which is interesting because we've spoken all year about is Trey good enough to wear the one on his back. They play like they did last night.
Yep.
And it's interesting as well with Queensland and Hammer playing centre. I think have your best player play fullback, but maybe Trey Fuller has just been good enough to
force his way.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have another centre that fills that kind of need that they want. Hammer can, be very good there, and then they have a better option at fullback. So I guess they're playing the best five in the back line is what they're going with.
Who went down? It must have been Katoa. So again, this is obviously forced their hand. So Avarillo goes to 6. O'Sullivan goes to 7. Hammer had 1 on his back, goes to centres. Fuller, who's had the 20 on his back, goes to fullback. So obviously not planned.
Katoa was on the bench.
So it was planned.
It was planned.
Yeah, okay.
So
and it had like this master plan where
it's almost like he knows something about That's pretty crazy as well, given how good Katoa's been this year as well.
He's still so young.
Yeah, so he's going to be a really good talent.
Yep.
Farnworth's numbers, 287 run meters, 2 tries, 2 try assists, and Hammer's had 205 run meters, 2 tries, and a try assist. Hammer doesn't look like he gets out of 4th gear sometimes as well on some of those sprints, and then he realises like someone's chasing him. He's like, "Oh yeah, fucking catch me later."
Yeah. Just tiring the other team out.
Yeah,
chase them down.
It's crazy. Did you guys see the sin bin, the Kafusi sin bin? It didn't matter because Dolphins scored whilst he was in the bin.
Yeah.
Quote unquote late shot on Adam Reynolds. Reynolds gave him a bit of a spray on the way off.
Yes.
Slow mo never looks as good as live. Watching it live, I was like, this is one of the softest sin bins I think I've ever seen.
Again, it was one of those ones where it's kind of falling into it, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the height, well, again, if you get someone a little bit high, you can't blame the fact that he's short and you're tall, I suppose.
Yeah.
But Reynolds had dropped the ball as well. Anyways, it was ruled a sin bin. It didn't affect the game at all. It's just an interesting tidbit, I suppose, as to where the game is at the moment. Speaking of interesting tidbits, it's 3 consecutive years that the previous year's runner-up misses the top 8. So you go to play Penrith and lose a grand final and then watch the following seasons fucking go to shit.
Wow.
Essentially, yep. So we'll see. If it is a Penrith Storm grand final this year, it'll be interesting if that does happen. I've got a feeling it won't if it's those two.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
How did Dolphins go? Well, I suppose probably looking too far into the future now, but next season, after a performance like that, off the back of probably Wayne's coaching, how do we look to see how they'll go next season?
It's a good question, and we can link it here, I think, to the minor premierships over the last 10 years, how we've seen this domination from 3 clubs, Penrith, Melbourne, Roosters. Penrith obviously done very well converting them into premierships recently. Storm a little bit before that, and Chooks have got a couple themselves. I think in that era, I think it's just the Sharks that have won in 2016. Going back, actually, can you get grand final winners as well? I think in the last 10 years, it is just them. Cowboys 2015, Cowboys and Sharks. Regardless, there's been 3 clubs that have been really, really super consistent. Okay, and then we look at the coaching, and you got Bellamy, you got Cleary.
Well, take the Storm team this year.
Yeah, it's not a good team on paper.
Yeah, like half of them are no names, and all the big guys have been injured. Like Pappy didn't play half the year, Munster didn't play half the year. Hughes has been in and out of the squad. Harry Gant's probably been the consistent one.
No, Hughes has played.
But he's also he's missed a couple games through injury as well. So. And a time when they didn't also have Munster. But yeah, they're minor premiers. So.
But yeah, you're right. You look at, and we did, I remember doing this in March and looking at it and being like, yeah, they'll make the top 8, but they can't do much with this squad. They can't do much with this forward pack.
Yeah.
But they got a good spine. Yeah, we said that.
Yeah.
And lots of things come down to spine. But
especially healthy and all together. But again, they haven't had that complete spine until recently.
Yep.
So
and like you said, Grant and Hughes missed a couple games here and there, but they've played most of this season without Munster and Pappy, and still brain it into first place.
Yeah, I think if the NRL ever does like a Hard Knocks to the NFL, just being in that Storm building would be so interesting. Just how they can just find these guys on the rough and polish them into absolute diamonds, and then keep doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
What magic is Bellamy sprinkling over them to turn them all into megastars?
at the start of the year, you said to me, Trent Liero will be in the Queensland squad. He didn't play, and no disrespect to Trent Liero, but he's been made into this really polished player. Same with Katoa, same with Blore. Like heaps of their forwards that we looked at them on a name basis at the start of the year. And we're like, ugh.
I think it's discipline is probably where a lot of
it's discipline.
They're just as like we do high percentage, we eliminate errors, we make sure we stay within their system, and they just obviously just worship Bellamy, and it's like what he says we will do, we will follow it like gospel, and they go out there and do it every single week, and it's drilled into them. So to actually see that getting applied in an off season, I would be very interested in.
Shout out if you're listening. Dolphins did it with Wayne as well at the start of the year. And back to the original question, Monks. No, I don't think it bodes well for you losing one of the best coaches of all time.
Well, I wanted to touch on that as well, because once they announced that Souths deal, the Finns went on a big skid. So there's a lot of talk about, is Wayne kind of too focused on Souths? He suppose was involved in the recruitment for next year. They had all the questions about what's happening with Latrell, etc. as well, with his injuries. And then also very recently the other transgression. So, he's got one eye on South and one eye missing on Finns. But they've managed at least to get a couple of wins here to right the ship, because, it was a bit dire there because they were top four.
Yeah, they were.
And then had a big slide. So.
Yeah.
I think there's a few things at play here.
Injuries also play.
Injuries. They got fucking decimated. One of the worst teams in terms of copping injuries this year. Yeah. I think playing finals football is going to be massive, even if it's just they finish 8th and they go and lose the Dogs or the Cowboys. Yeah, so be it. To make finals in your second year is massive. And we talk about spines and youth. Hammer, maybe Fuller does play into it. Katoa is young as anything. Jeremy Marshall King a bit older than the others, but still pretty handy. They've got the spine there. So if they can sort of go off the back end of the older forwards' career and then do some good recruiting for some younger, middles and edges, I think the next 5 years looks pretty good for them.
Having said that, have the Dragons made the final since he left?
Since Bennett, yes, they've made finals. They haven't done anything.
Because I was going to say there's Newcastle probably kind of in the same boat as well.
I think again back to Newcastle. I think they've made the finals. Well, no, they definitely have, because they made the finals last year. Yep. But again, they haven't
done anything.
Gone to a GF or gone deep. So the Bennett leaving effect certainly leaves big holes at clubs. Yeah, and we've seen that firsthand with the Dragons. But good little tangent. Got into talking as well about the dominance of those teams 1, 2, 3. We'll look at that later in just a second. Let's talk about the Wars getting a win in Sean Johnson's final game, 30-28 at PointsBet Stadium. Big second half comeback. I didn't watch much of this. I caught a little bit of the KO mini this morning. Sean Johnson, he was pivotal in this one. Put DWZ, Dallin Wanteen-Zelezniak in 3 times, and including the winner with 30 seconds to go. He also bagged his 100th try, playing a little bit longer than Sevo, but a couple blokes getting 100 tries.
He looks like he could play multiple seasons if he wanted to, but I think he
doesn't look like he's slowing down.
But I think he's kind of content. He's had to deal with injuries for the last few years. I think last year was probably their real big run, with the injuries and the age kind of piling up, I think he's like, I'm content. I've done everything.
The COVID era,
dominated with New Zealand, so. I don't think he can ask for much more in a career, so I think he's quite happy.
I think you can't underestimate the toll that being away from your extended family. Yes, your spouses and things were allowed in the bubble and whatnot, but being forced to go away for a long time and being really locked down and we saw it last year with the Warriors going back to their home crowds and every fucking game selling out.
Absolutely welcome.
Up the wires, pandemonium, just going mental. So I think that probably plays into it. Monks, you've got his stats up there. Yep. He turns 34 this week. It's pretty incredible what he's achieved without maybe going to that next level. You want to run us through maybe games played for both Sharks, Wires, and Kiwis.
Yep, sure. So, yes, he played 268 games. Fittingly, versing Cronulla, he played 44 games for Cronulla between 2019 and 2021. Scored 85 tries and...
How many points is it? 1,476 points.
Yeah.
So that's probably top 10 as well for points scored.
Possibly.
You chase that up. And
Bring that up.
32 games for New Zealand. And that's where my question sort of goes is where does he rate for you boys amongst Kiwi players?
Oh, well, interesting.
I had to think about this. He might be number 2. I think Benji, you can probably argue, has had a better career. The grand final makes a massive difference, I think, for Benji.
If you think about Wars guys, Stacey Jones is...
Stacey Jones comes to mind. Yeah, he was also up there.
Yeah, played in his own
I think
grand
Ruben
final,
Wiki
didn't win.
as well.
Ruben,
But obviously, I'm talking about New Zealand-born
players.
Yeah, just Kiwi players in general,
Yeah.
not necessarily Warriors.
Hardgraves, I guess. Probably.
JWH, you got to throw him in there. I was thinking about it. I was thinking, is this 3-way tie? And as well, like recency bias for us being younger fans, there's probably a whole bunch of, fans from the 80s going, oh, fuck, it'll name you another 5 Kiwis that should be up there.
Yeah.
But I think for mine, I think I had him 2 under Benji Marshall.
Yep.
And that was just pondering it for a few seconds.
Yep. Sits 23rd.
Not even close to top
all
10.
time. Yeah, there's a few.
Well, I was going to say, because Cameron, he was over 3,000, so...
He's over 3,000.
Yeah, I think
2007, 86.
Yeah, almost 3,000. There you go. So
Must not include finals.
No, I'm pretty sure that does.
Yeah.
That's all of it, yeah. I just knew he was close to 3,000, and Croker would almost got there.
Any Kiwis above him there? Daryl Halligan will be.
Actually.
But again, I don't think you can argue that Daryl Halligan was a better footballer than Benji or SJ.
Yeah,
that's
from a pure
nearly
talent.
all Aussies up there.
Yeah.
Luke Bird, Aussie. Michael Gordon, Aussie. Shivkovsky, Fitzgibbon, Langland, Stanley Lyon, Keith Barnes. Nathan Cleary's already, what is he, 20th? Orford, SJ. So from a point scoring perspective, he's 2 on that list.
Yep.
For Kiwis.
Yeah.
Now, again, obviously points don't translate to how good you are at rugby league.
No. Also, 2014, he got the Golden Boot for the World's Best Player. Also played.
And probably should have had a Dally M last year.
Yeah.
So Dally M runner-up, 2011 runner-up with the Warriors. I think there's some pretty, like when we're looking at resumes, never won a GF, no Dally M's. I don't think you can say he's the greatest, or maybe even, I don't know, people maybe push back and saying that he's a top 3 Kiwi of all time. I don't think many people are going to push back and say he's...
You can't doubt the talent.
Yeah. And early on, we're talking about, if we're talking about maybe the best Kiwi player of all time in Benji.
Yep.
Who the fuck did SJ say, oh, look, it's like Benji again. It's like Benji again.
Yeah.
You got the current New Zealand team there.
Yep.
Joey Manu by the end of his career, maybe. Get at us in the comments if you think we're missing anyone. I think Ruben Wiki had an incredible career. Scroll down a bit there for us, monks. I'm not going to know a whole heap of names from 1907.
Yeah, I don't think Ruben ever...
Dally Messenger.
Oh, actually,
New
did he
Zealand,
win 96?
Did he play some for New Zealand? Or maybe all of his career for New Zealand? Nah, just some. So he's...
1908.
Yeah, that's interesting. So he played 2 games for New Zealand and 9 games for Australia. You learn something new on the Esky, boys.
read that thing. When did he move to Australia? Is he under 13?
That's an asterisk. That's his eligibility. That's an asterisk right there. I don't think we have the time, personally. I don't think anyone would laugh at you if you said he's up there with the best Kiwis of all time. I think you probably would get laughed at if you said he's the best Kiwi rugby league player of all time. But kudos to him. An excellent career. And I think I'll probably have him without doing much research too.
Yep.
Knights 36, Titans 14. The Knights win this game, so pretty much Finns versus Knights is an elimination final next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
They draw, and the winner of the Dragons and Raiders can go through. Essentially, that's the only options there.
Well, there is the mathematical option, but yeah.
It's 120 points, so no.
Well, if the Knights win close, it gets it down to 80, but yeah, still.
Yeah, so what do we need here? I'm trying to entertain you here.
So if they
'Cause
win
you
by
have a
one, so
No,
then
but,
they
no, but
47
you want,
80
but you want, you need the Knights to
win.
and win by more than that. You want them to,
but you don't want them to improve their points difference.
Yeah, you need the Knights to win.
Not improve their points difference.
yeah, that's true. Because if they improve it, then you can't catch them.
Exactly.
I was thinking
So
about
win by one, and then
What the fuck?
it's around 80 points.
It's gonna happen. The Knights
then
are
the
gonna win.
the Dragons
and we're
are
gonna
Raiders.
win by like 90.
But have a bit of a handshake on it and be like, bro, let's who wants to win this? All right, we'll let in 80.
I can't believe we wasted this much.
No, but draw. For that game,
which
it has
is
to
not
be a draw.
impossible.
It's not impossible, but yeah, there was a draw recently, a couple of weeks ago. So it does happen, but it seems like it'll be Finn's Knights playing out for 8th, and the Dragons will play Raiders We'll play them first. We'll need to have massive scores to even be considered, but we'll need a draw to sneak past and steal 8th. So season's probably done for Dragons and Raiders.
Very interesting how the season turned out, and you've got those 4 teams playing against each other.
Yeah, and very interesting the different situations that these two teams have put themselves into leading into that game next week. With the Dragons essentially just imploding and the Raiders going out and beating the Roosters and Penrith.
And the week before that,
remember 3 weeks ago, I was like, bye-bye, Raiders.
Cowboys put 40
I looked
on
at that draw and I was like, ta-ta.
And then they won both those games.
Yeah. So, and again, that's for them going into next year, they got to think, we can beat these teams on our day. We just got to play a bit more consistent footy.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, they did play the Roosters today without Fogarty. Sam Walker, likely ACL.
I think they said confirmed.
Confirmed, yeah. And then the Cheese was
MCL. Not a syndesmosis, as per first report.
Nate Butcher got HIS. He's probably going to miss next week as well. Yeah. Rapana fractured cheekbone, so he's done in the NRL probably as well. Well, the Raiders. He won't play next week for the Raiders, and he's going to the Super League next season, so his NRL career likely done. But Roosters a bit wounded. Penrith, missing Nathan Cleary, and Storm getting healthy leading into the finals.
All bodes well for Melbourne, doesn't it?
Yes, it definitely does, leading into the last round of the NRL.
That Sammy Walker one was devastating. Had a partial, so
didn't have surgery in the off season. He's been playing with it mostly all year. Had it taped up for most games, and just a little knock really. And
I think the attrition of the season as well. I was watching the mechanism back. I was like, that doesn't look like an ACL.
Yeah,
and then comes out confirmed ACL. That thing was probably holding on by not a whole lot.
I think he was third or fourth in try assists on the year as well. So
he's had a good year, man. He's been a big part of the Roosters' success.
Exactly. So with him missing, he's going to ask some serious questions. Like I think Connor Watson probably they're going to want to get him more involved because that's how they have been playing without him. He kind of plays 6 and Kiri goes in the 7. But whether that can win you a comp is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, as well.
Their forward pack's still excellent.
Yeah, and you probably have to think about the rehab timing of it. Obviously, you never want to do your ACL. The timing of doing it in September is even more shithouse.
Yeah.
But if he smashes his rehab, could be good to go for the last couple of rounds and finals next year. But then, as well, they have to be there without him. Horrible news for Sammy and for Chook's fans. And it'll be interesting to see how they line up through the finals without Sammy Walker. We've spoken about it here on the pod before with DCE starting to get a little bit long in the tooth.
You'd think heir apparent.
Yeah, you'd say for the Maroons, you'd think Sammy Walker is probably their guy leading forward. Did you have Trisis up there? Where is he?
Trisis, who's
fourth.
Fourth.
So Ben Hunt 28, go down. Scotty Drinkwater 24, Jerome Hughes 23, Sammy Walker 21.
Yeah. Pretty sure that hasn't been updated because I think Ben's at 32 because he had a few from the other game yesterday.
Trisis is annoying as well because NRL.com often reports it differently to what Fox Sports reports it as. So dumb. Go through. It just should be one thing. It's the most rugby league thing ever.
Yep. Was leading in goals as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and that was actually the difference in that game because Kiri kicked 2, missed them both, and hasn't kicked one in a while and didn't kick one all season. So
Still on the donut.
Still on the donut, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, so Raiders next year, they will certainly know that they can beat good sides.
Very young team as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ronnie Coote, Monks, what do we got there? Can you give us games played for South, East, and then New South Wales, Australia?
Yeah,
why is Ronnie Coote important?
14th Immortal.
There you go.
Yeah.
A lot of speculation. Us young morons didn't even consider it. We spoke about if there's someone coming from the 80s. Is it going to be Sterlo or who was good enough then to deserve of it? Did we mention the name Ron Coote?
I don't think we did, but when they announced it, I was just like, oh yeah, we're so dumb. Yeah. Well, I think we were thinking, 2000s onwards, like that,
recency bias.
And maybe it was all smoke and mirrors from the NRL to say we're changing it from 3 years to 5 years. Because when they did that, I was like, it's going to be Kev Smith. And then it just makes sense that you do this when guys are still alive, so they get, because doing it posthumously is lovely for the families.
Yep.
But these, like, with all respect, the guys that have died, they don't know that they're an immortal.
Yeah, and you look at it as well, probably the next lot is going to be dominated by Queenslanders in that period as well. If they don't do it now, then
they know. Yeah, whether it's announced in 2024 or 2034 or 2044.
Yeah.
Cameron Smith and Billy Slater. Add who else in there if you want to go.
Darren's probably going to as well. So I think those guys are, over the next 10 years, they'll be the dudes that they're getting in.
100%. Yeah.
And they should, touch wood, they should all be very good and be healthy and alive at that point.
Yep.
Whereas Ron Coote's a lot older in comparison. So
and Roddy could go out and live another 30 years and say, fuck, I didn't have to do it early for me now. But I think it makes sense.
Well, he's 79, so 30 years.
109 modern medicine.
Yes.
Ron Coote and talking to the old boy straight away, he was like, he changed the way that the lock position was played. Was elite. It was no surprise to him. So just us dumb idiots that are too young and the recency bias played into it.
We weren't even born then, so.
Yeah, and
what do we know?
But that's a good point because it makes it hard to compare because when you're just looking at stats and you're just looking at this is what
games change.
This is what Steve Mortimer's numbers were, and this is what Sterlo's numbers were, and this is it's hard to look at someone's numbers, and that's what we're about to do now. And without watching them week in and week out, having an appreciation for how good they are. Yeah, exactly. Taking them out of context. But if you wouldn't mind, Monks, games played. South, East, New South Wales, Australia.
Done. So, for South, he played 148 games, scored 48 tries. From lock, Didn't score any points. Come on. Goals rather. For East, he played 109, scored 39 tries. I was at East. When the South and Roosters play each year, they've play for the Ron Coote Cup, so just an absolute legend for both of those clubs, as well as the NRL. For New South Wales, he played 15 games, scored 6 tries, and he played 23 games for Australia, scoring 13.
So was that almost 100 tries?
NRL level, I think it's 87. Yeah.
That's pretty good from the second round.
And particularly the way that the game was played then as well. I think as well really changed the way tackling and cover tackling was done. So back in the day when they used to have real scrums as well.
Swinging arms.
Getting out from lock and being quick and then chasing down a centre or whoever has the ball and that round the legs, type tackling. I think he was a big proponent of that. Interesting as well that he's so revered by both clubs. There's no one really, I think, that like Ron Coote is so involved in the lore of both South and East.
Also won 6 premierships. Across 9 grand finals.
Then when we talk about resumes, I think that's
9 appearances, 6
we're just talking about SJ not having it, and it's a team thing. No one individually brilliant player can go out and say, I won 6 premierships. Like he's obviously in some good teams. But when you're looking at resumes, it certainly helps.
Yeah, it adds that Tom Brady effect, as we like to talk about. But it does.
Yep.
If winners like to win, and it kind of proves it.
So good on you, Ronnie Coote. The 14th Immortal. And only in Australia will you have someone whose name is Australian rhyming slang for having sex being also highly revered and one of our immortal footy players. It'll be interesting to see when they do the next lot. It's probably going to be 4 or 5 years till we hear about it again.
Yeah, well, I think with the revamp, it might be more regular.
You know, it'd be nice if they did one every year.
Yeah.
Like the old heads would be like, no, that's not what it's about, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
but the game's growing, you know, if it was, because like the NFL.
There will be a massive backlog if you don't.
Yeah, but I think that's the Hall of Fame. So I reckon we probably get Hall of Fame every year. And then maybe Immortals is like every 2 kind of thing.
Yeah, well, just make it a bit more rigid.
Yes. Yeah.
Structured.
Yeah, exactly. Would love it to be a bit more structured.
NRL is investigating a plan to revive the extinct national youth competition.
Under 20s, under 21s?
I think it's important for the game and for, you know, when you think of Penrith and all these guys playing footy, for not all of them, but a lot of them, especially from that first grand final winning team, having come through the juniors and played under 20s together, I think it's massive for the NRL. What's the go with this?
Well, I think that's exactly it. They're looking at that young pathways again, having that set up because I think, and it being again a more national competition than what we got at the moment, which is New South Wales Cup and the Queensland Cup. Those guys kind of playing against each other, playing within the states, and then playing a final, say on grand finals day against each one, and but they have, I guess, all the tiers. Some of the the reserve grade guys, the guys that are over 21, kind of playing that sort of system. But but then you have New South Wales Cup and Queensland Cup teams that have got 21 plus guys filling out the spots. So I guess it's just again a pathways. We see how young a lot of these super talented guys come into the NRL. Maybe instead of getting them game time in the resis, maybe get them more game time in a more comparable setting, and then also building what you're saying, building some chemistry with guys that they will most likely come through the system as and play with together into the NRL. So I don't see a reason why not. I've always wondered why they got rid of it in the first place.
I think travel expenses.
I think it was cost.
Yeah.
But I guess most clubs, they've got the roster of 30. They're going to have a bunch of young guys. Again, if they've got extra opportunities to have young guys playing in a competition that they can also support, then, and with the amount of money I think the league's been making recently, it makes sense to bring it back and then hopefully get more young people, get more juniors, and then feed them into the NRL and again have a better product overall.
Imagine the vision for say 2040 or 2035. Let's go 10, 15 years in the future. Imagine the league's got enough money where you rock up to a game and there's a under 21s game, there's a women's game, and there's a first grade game. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, well, I remember going to a Raiders game, and the Raiders game was late in the afternoon, and you had down to 20s, then you had the reserve grade side, and then you had Canberra actually playing. You could sit there and watch it all day, and watch rugby league from 9 o'clock in the morning.
And that's often how it still works, but oftentimes they're not playing the team that they're about to play because they're playing. It's a New South Wales Cup game that's going on. Or whatever is on. So I think long term it makes a lot of sense. We keep talking about the TV deals that the NRL's printing money at the moment. Well, I think it'll be important.
And I think the other thing is if you're going to add another 3 clubs potentially, you need the pathways for young players. Juniors, to get in to build out those squads, especially because it sounds like it's all about confirmed for this Western Australian side. It sounds like the government's confirmed the PNG, so it looks like we'll have at least those 2. And we think the next New Zealand makes the most sense. And it's probably number 3. So I think it's all on the cards. So by 2032, you could, in the next 8 years, we'll have a 20-team league. And that means you got to find another 90-odd guys to be able to fit on the rosters. So, and
a good way to do that is a strong youth development system.
Exactly.
Especially, we're sort of crept into our group chat recently, but it's always there. The fact that the NRL doesn't have a draft, and we could do an hour episode on that. But if you're not going to have that, pathways, juniors into I think a 20s or 21s. Comp nationally and televised, I think is important moving forward.
Yep.
All right, from one code that's doing really well to one that's not doing great, but this will be good for Aussie rugby fans. Horrendous conditions over there in Buenos Aires in terms of wet weather footy, but they did come away 20-19 winners. Jake Gordon and Rob Valentini going through. Only caught the highlights of this. It looks like they defended the goal line a lot better than they did in the Springboks game. Pretty much, and again, probably testament to the Springboks maul. Were just busting over whenever they felt like it. Seemed like they defended well in this one and got an absolute gift of a penalty right at the end, straight in front to win the game.
Yep. Yeah, very good.
Springboks did beat the All Blacks over in South Africa. That means they're 2 games clear, I should say, in the Rugby Championship. It's pretty much theirs to lose. So all eyes, I think, for Aussie fans will be this return leg against Argentina, of course. But the Bledisloe will be obviously the big one, the elusive one for the last 20 years.
Yep.
All right, boys, let's talk some Aussie rules footy. Let's start off with the All-Australian team. We'll run through the team, talk about some snubs, and talk about the structure of the team and, certain positions not really getting a look in at wingers. All-Australian team, Max Gawn, 7th Blazer for his collection, so pretty elite company. Both Gary Ablett Jr. and Senior have 7+. Dangerfield, Buddy Franklin, Robert Harvey, Marcus Shudo, Roo, Wayne Carey, Stephen Silvani, Nathan Buckley. Max Gawn goes up with those numbers, with those names. We'll get to the controversies maybe surrounding that in just a second, but there was a lot of speculation, I think particularly for Tristan Sherry, but Darcy Cameron, Rowan Marshall also been considered for that ruck position. Not much controversy around these two blokes. Marcus Bontempelli named captain, 6th All-Australian selection for him. Patrick Cripps named vice-captain, 4th All-Australian selection for him, and he may go close to winning a Brownlow in a few weeks' time.
Interesting question for you. I've seen a little bit of conversation about the Bont being hard done by, that he hasn't won a Brownlow so far in his career. That whether he's
been top 3 a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Like whether it's not been stolen, but whether he's been unfairly treated, maybe in some of the voting, so I've missed out. Yeah, well, I'm putting that question to you because I've, for how good he's been, like the talk, like has he been one of, if not one of the best AFL player of
the last 6 or 7 years? He's probably been the most consistent.
Yeah, so then that hasn't turn into any awards, individual awards that will be. So
I think they're fucking hard to win.
For
one. For two, I think last year, oftentimes you've got your teammates to thank for your success and also for not winning them.
Yes.
So, if you don't mind scrolling down on last year's, I know Tim English won a fair few. Did Trelaw get a few last year? Just maybe find how many some of those other Bulldogs teammates got. So Libba there got 17, took a few off him. I'm sure from memory, Timmy English got a few. He was 2 points short last year. He's been top 3 on several occasions. Only 11 for Timmy English. It's poor rucks. So that's probably part of it there. But yeah, of course, it's something that's voted on by umpires and coaches and all the rest of it. So it's still a subjective thing. Yeah. So you're not going to completely eliminate that. But yeah, it's something that he may never win. But 6 All-Australians. Pretty good player. He's $15 to win this year. I'd be surprised if he wins it this year. But
I agree.
There has been a few, Lockie Neal's got 2. And again, very good player. I wouldn't say Lockie Neal has had twice the career that Marcus Bontempelli has had. Just, that's just the way that the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yes.
Is it a position thing as well, or
nah?
Don't reckon.
Nah, I think if anything, being playing in the middle,
He's
inside midfielder. Yeah, it's we'll get to quarterbacks in the NFL a little bit later in the show.
Yeah.
The AFL's going that way as well, where this award is for your ball midfielders.
Yeah. The forwards have the Coleman and defenders who the fuck is.
And it's essentially what it's like in the AFL now. And it's very specifically, this is for inside midfielders. It's not for wingmen. It's not for rucks. It's not for backs. And the Coleman's for the forwards. It's just kind of the way that it is. But positionally, in just a second, we'll get to the makeup of the team and where you can name people. Let's run through that team. Backs, Nick Blakey, Sydney, Jacob Wiedering, Carlton, Luke Ryan, Freo, Dane Zorko, revamped career, moving into the back pocket, Brisbane. Jerry McGovern, one of 2 West Coast Eagles in there, and Dan Houston, Port Adelaide. Mids, Max Gawn, Melbourne, Patrick Cripps, Carlton, Caleb Sarong, Freo, Errol Goulden, Sydney, Marcus Bontempelli, Western Bulldogs, Nick Dacos, Collingwood. Forwards, and this is where it gets interesting positionally. Chad Warner, Sydney, Jeremy Cameron, Geelong, Isaac Heaney, Sydney, Jake Waterman, West Coast Eagles, Jesse Hogan, GWS, Dylan Moore, Hawthorn, Interchange, Lockie Whitfield, GWS, Lockie Neal, Brisbane, Adam Treloar gets his first Blazer, Western Bulldogs, Zach Butters, Port Adelaide. Let's go straight into the team structure. It's like we're talking about how midfielders, the only people winning Brownlows.
How many can we get on the pitch?
Well, how many can we get in there? So Chad Warner and Isaac Heaney both played majority of their season through the middle. Dylan Moore, majority of his season through the middle. And then looking at the back 6 are actually all backs, but oftentimes they'll name someone off the half-back flank that's played mostly through the middle. We saw this exact same thing done last year. And then to top it off, it's inside midfielders pretty much only. So Massimo D'Ambrosio, great season for Hawthorn. Arguably was the best true wingman in the comp this year. Doesn't get a look in. It's harder to get the numbers, starting outside of the centre square than it is for the inside midfielders. So it's just kind of function of how much ball that your inside midfielders are able to get. And that's where your best players end up playing. So, and again, if you wanted to pick it purely on talent, maybe there is a pretty reasonable argument to have Heaney and Chad Warner forward because you could play them as forwards. Isaac Heaney's played a bulk part of his career as a forward, and both of them had 25 plus goals this year. So when they go forward, or even as scoring midfielders, they can do it. So that's the arguments for it.
Definitely can understand that. So Sydney got the most with 4. And no one else got 3. Everyone else there was a couple that got 2.
Yeah, so 2 Blues, 2
Dogs,
2 Power.
2 Brisbane, 2 Dockers, 2 Giants.
Lots of 2s. 2 Eagles, actually, interestingly.
2 Eagles, So, 6 from Sydney in total.
With GWS.
Area with GWS,
We'll get to the snubs in just a second. Consistency is interesting as well. I think it's, again, a bit of a reflection of midfielders and not going with a true forward 6, back 6, although, and you know what I mean?
I think it also, for this, when you touch on it, is also where the competition was. It's a very different competition this year than it was last year. A lot of movement in that top 8, as you will. So I think there's a bit of a reflection on that as well.
Yeah. Well, we look at the 17 guys from 2023 that didn't make the team. It's a huge number.
It's a massive number.
And 12 of them not even making the shortlist. A lot of them still pretty handy.
They're still good,
footballers. But James Sicily, Callum Wilkie probably had a little bit of a down year this year. Same with Jack Sinclair compared to their years last year. Tom Stewart, Darcy Moore, Josh Dacos, Tim English, Connor Rosey, Jordan Dawson, Zach Merritt we'll get to in a second. Taylor Walker, Christian Petrarca injured. Charlie Cameron, Charlie Curnow we'll get to in a second. Toby Green, Nick Larkey from the team last year that did not make it. So it means the back-to-back guys, Houston, Goulden, Bontempelli, Butters, Dacos, Sarong. Snubs. you watch a fair bit of Brisbane Lions football. Harris Andrews, I think, is probably the best fullback in the game.
Yep.
It's 2 years in a row that he's been in the preliminary squad. Doesn't make the final 22. Wiedering and McGovern favoured as talls, and they went with 4 smaller guys with Blakey Houston, Ryan Zorko, although Ryan probably can be sort of classified as halfway.
Yeah, and I don't want to put it on, say, on Zorko, but I think kind of maybe with that feeling, get a one Lions guy in the back, and with the resurgence of his career, maybe some of that kind of came into the conversation. But
do you reckon it does?
Well, if I'm trying to sell it to the media, yes.
Possibly.
Yeah. What's the headlines of the stories? Like Zorko's a better story potentially at the back end of his career, and they're like, oh, Andrews, he's young, he's got a few more opportunities, etc. So I can see that conversation definitely happening.
I think they probably pick how many talls they want, how many not talls they want, and then they've maybe done a direct comparison with Jeremy McGovern.
Yeah.
For mine, I would have had Harris Andrews. And we'll definitely get to who I would have had in Charlie Curnow, Jake Waterman. Just very consistent. I think his kicking efficiency is close to 90% when you're getting it out of your end. Incredible. Intercept mark spoils is high up in all of those. He's been pretty unlucky to not be an All-Australian 2 years in a row.
Agree.
This guy, was very surprised that Charlie Curnow's name was not read out. 57 goals in 21 games. Waterman has had an excellent season, big part of the resurgence of the West Coast. Well, they did better than what they did last year, maybe not a resurgence. 53 goals from his 20 games. Charlie may be doing his ankle and missing those last few. If you've kicked, say, 65 plus goals, I don't think you're missing the All-Australian. I think if you're the Coleman medalist, you're definitely not missing. But again, the same argument could be used for Waterman there. Waterman's kicking accuracy, incredible. But yeah, for mine that's watched a fair bit of Blues. Admittedly, not a lot of Eagles this year. I was very surprised that Charlie's name did not get read out.
Yeah, but again, does that go because they wanted some of those smaller guys to fill some spots in the forwards? Yeah,
that's where the argument comes down. So you've essentially left out one of the best true forwards in the game. So the like-to-like comparisons in the team that they've picked are Waterman, Hogan, Cameron. I think Jesse Hogan as the full forward and Coleman medalist is a no-brainer to have him in there. And then Jeremy Cameron, although having maybe a little bit more of a quiet sort of back third. His last game went mental. And at the start of the year, we're like, oh, could this guy win a Brownlow kind of form? 58 goals, 22 games, averaging 16 disposals as well. The work that he does as a true sort of half forward, getting up the ground, being a little bit more mobile than the others, I think probably deserving of being in there. So really the head-to-head that they've gone with is Curnow versus Waterman, and I don't see a world personally where Waterman is the better footballer. Get at me in the comments if you're an angry West Coast fan. I just feel like Charlie Curnow is the better footballer. But yeah, it's like you said, some of those other spots, if you're a true small forward or a true winger, maybe you're going, hey, is my position obsolete? I can't crack into the All-Australian team the way that it currently is.
Yeah, because inside mids are nicking your forward spot.
Yeah, inside mids or, they're going back, they're going into the forward pockets and half forward flanks, I'm doing in their air quotes, and traditionally often they'd have one running off halfback as well. So there's an argument there. Should it be the position that they play week in, week out, or should it just be, what's the scariest fucking looking 22 that we can name?
Who's the best 22 in the country?
Yep. Two other big schnubs here. I think the last one is probably the biggest one. Zach Merritt would get to first. 28 disposals a game, 15 goals, 114 tackles. Monks have watched a fair bit of Bombers footy. Pretty good footballer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and statistically, on par with last year as well. I think it is probably the issue like we've been talking about. There's too many midfielders. Just don't have the spot for them.
And the reflection on their season, I think you're picking Sydney Swans dudes over where the Bombers finished.
Well, that's it. The way that the Bombers have sort of ended the season with that downward trend, that slide. Like you said, with Autumn and like West Coast aren't doing great, but they're probably doing better than expected. Whereas you'd probably have a little bit higher expectation for the Bombers this season, the way they started.
That's an interesting thing. Should expectation weigh into it, or change from 2023 to 2024? Because Waterman incredible in how he's come on as a footballer, whereas Zach Merritt is pretty much just done a carbon copy of what he did in 2023.
Yeah.
That probably again shouldn't come into it.
That's it. Like, you don't want to think that it's where the team's sitting that's influencing it. But again, you look at all the midfielders chosen over him; they're all teams above the Bombers. So how can you say no to that? I guess as well.
Yeah.
Is it the I'm going to call it the LeBron trait. Like you've been around so long that you just that's just consistent for you, but you're still putting up numbers that compared to your MVP seasons. So he's like, but you're not getting any.
I would go the other way. I think the LeBron argument applies to Max Gawn, where I think there has been statistically better ruckman in it this year.
But
where
the name value is still there.
But the name value is like, well, he's maybe the best ruckman of all time. I don't think he was in the top 3 rucks statistically this year.
Will that lead to your final snub?
Yeah, Tristan Cherry, I think, was the best ruckman in the game this year. Playing for North Melbourne, is difficult. And to try and get your team first usage of the ball is critical. Bloke finished second behind Riley O'Brien for hitouts, 35 a game. But the other 2 stats that stand out for me, having played a little bit lower level ruck than these boys, a little bit. Yeah. 35 hitouts and 18 disposals was a fucking month of footy for me. But
month? That's career totals.
Played close to 150 games, 18 disposals. Yeah, that checks out. 18 disposals a game, 173 tackles. He finished second amongst all players in tackles this year, which is
massive workload.
Big man can move.
Incredible. Yeah. And he's fit, but I was looking at time on pitch or time on the ground. 85%, which is pretty much bang on for where your starting rucks are. So incredible season statistically. And again, footy's not just stats. You could argue that,
their club didn't do overly too well, etc.
Well, I wouldn't even argue that. I'd say Max Gawn's intangibles, is probably better.
Well, captain,
not even that. Like the ability to go forward, pluck a mark, kick a goal, or just when he's on, you're like, oh fuck, he's a generational.
The leadership side of it. So I understand. I agree.
Yeah, but for mine, probably the biggest snub was Sherry, and then like I said, I think there's a good argument to say that Darcy Cameron and Rowan Marshall both had better years than Big Maxi did.
Yep.
But anyways, that is the squad, or that is the confirmed 22, I should say. We won't go through the squad. Obviously, they name 44 as opposed to the traditional 40, so go check out that if you're AFL inclined, and let us know who you think should have been in, who should have stayed in there. I don't think too many people are going to argue the likes of Cripps and Bontempelli. They're pretty good at footy.
Yep, I agree.
There was a little bit of talk about Petrarca being traded. I don't know what to believe anymore. I feel like just media can just make shit up.
I feel like Max Gawn probably confirmed this because then when they interviewed him for the 22 for the Australian 22, he was saying, I've talked to him about his frustrations with the club and my frustrations with the club, because I think it all came out with how they handled his injury, and I think that was built. Beat it up a little bit too much, but he'll know more about that behind the scenes.
But can you go out publicly and say that there's been a few frustrations where a club, has obviously fallen off a cliff to where they were 2 years ago?
Agreed.
Does that equate to, I'm out, he's out the door, there's what they were reporting?
Yeah, well, I think that was probably more a threat.
So no aspect of truth in it whatsoever.
As in this is like, hey, I'm not real happy. We need to sort some shit out. Otherwise, I want to go. And media reports that it's like Petrarca wants trade. So it was like, yes, they might get to that after we jump over a few rabbits and go over this way over a few frogs or whatever. That's a terrible analogy.
Yeah, I was the story when the scorpion kills the frog.
No, checkers. I'm thinking of checkers here. But the idea, you make some moves in checkers and you get to the point, and I don't know, jumping things, and who the fuck knows? But
your head is a wild place, bro.
Yeah, exactly. But that's how the media works. So, and that's how they come up with this headline.
And information: Bush did 9/11.
Allegedly.
That's not me. That's just, that's how we get to things.
Yeah, but I think overall there's definitely frustrations at the club. There's probably a little smoke to that fire, but I don't think we're getting rushing out and he wants to be traded tomorrow kind of thing. I think it's more just like, I'm unhappy, and if you don't fix some shit, I want to go. So I think he's now come out and said, I'm staying for next year. It's a bit of a beat up. To me, that sounds like we had the conversation. We've covered off what needs to be addressed. I'm now in a better place than I was a week ago. And the club and I are on the same page. That's how I read that. They'll put out the nice statement that, it's all beat up, etc. But I think with what Maxi said at the Australia 22 kind of led to me to think that they've had some conversations, they've addressed the issues, and now he feels happier.
The whole episode with Petrarca in Melbourne has just been completely farcical. There's been ego, there's been delusion, there's been ridiculous media management, there's been spin. Yep. That is from long-time journalist Damien Barrett on the Sunday Footy Show.
Yeah. But, you also say that if you didn't get the scoop. So
there's two sides to every story, I suppose.
Exactly.
The only way you'll know is, if Petrarca went into long-format conversation and spoke about it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't doubt there was probably some frustrations there, and I think
without doubt.
Yeah, I think they've cleared the air and sorted it out. So for now, he's happy. The team that's probably worried about trades at the moment is the Tigers, with Bolton wanting out of there, and it looks like
have to keep him.
And a lot of guys want to go west. Like, is it Pickett as well wants to go out there?
The reverse problem of what the Adelaide and Perth teams generally have.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone wants I guess they've had a good system coming out of Western Australia recently that, all the guys want to go home. So, it'd be interesting and they all want to go to the Dockers, of course, because they're doing well. Whether the Dockers have managed to pull off all these trades and create some sort of super team over there.
Didn't do well in the game that counts. Thanks, boys. That does lead us into a bit of finals chat. Let us know in the comments what you think about the Petrarca situation. So Thursday night, qualifying final, Port Adelaide versus Geelong. That is going to be a beauty. That game would have sold out in about 2 seconds, I reckon. It will be interesting to see this Port team that has been so good over the last season and a bit since they started 0-5.
Yep.
How they're going to go in a home qualifying final.
Yeah, I think, any Adelaide team at home at Adelaide Oval is always a good shout to win a game.
It's going to be fucking loud in there.
Yeah, but you run into Geelong, who just have the old heads that just know how to win big games. So, I think it'll be a great game of footy. I'm leaning towards Port Adelaide winning it, but you never write off Geelong.
I'll go Port, but you are right there. There's a fair bit of finals experience there, the grand finals experience. So I don't think some of those older heads at Geelong will let the occasion get the better of them. Monks, you got some odds there for us?
Yes, I do. So Port are obviously favourites at $1.48. Geelong are out at $2.66 at the moment.
Yeah. They've had a big break. I'm just going back to 2 weeks ago. So Port had the win over in the West, which allowed the Blues to make 8. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your hard work there. And Geelong had a big win against West Coast in Geelong. That was the Jeremy Cameron 9-goal game, and we spoke about it a few weeks ago with Tom Hawkins saying that he'll be done at the end of the year. So that will be inspiring the group as well, especially as well with Danger sort of going through a fair bit of injury cloud this year.
Not getting any younger as well.
Not getting younger.
Same with Cameron. So
yeah, they've got a lot of guys there that, whilst they will bring a lot of experience and not let it get to them, the whole fucking joke was that they're too old. So you get two things there. You get the experience and not letting the occasion get the better of you. But fourth quarter performance is always going to be of a concern when you're on the other side of 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, Friday night we've got a elimination final, which over the last month of footy,
red hot.
Yeah, probably shapes up as being one of the sauciest matchups we could think of. Western Bulldogs, Hawthorn. This also sold out the G for especially, Dogs, not a huge Melbourne club. And after Hawthorn's spent a whole 2 seasons in the wilderness, they're looking like the form team of the competition.
Yeah. Like I think name value, Bulldogs.
Yeah, midfield.
Midfield, like you think you can't go past that, but just Hawthorn have been so red hot. It's just, can they keep that momentum going into the finals? And very young team, MCG full. I think
Talking about occasions.
Yeah, it's not about occasions. So I think they might sneak this one. I'd like to get on Hawthorn for this. And maybe it's in a week's time kind of thing is where their run potentially comes to an end. When one of those teams that are most likely going to win the premiership knocks them out.
I can't split them. For mine, before sort of looking at the odds before, I thought this might have been a little bit closer. We'll let Monks get to it in just a second. This is Hawthorn's last 6 weeks of footy. Beat Kangas by 124 points. Beat Richmond by 63 points. The week before, beat Carlton by 74 points. Did lose that tough one here to the Giants by 2 points. Before that, beat Adelaide by 66 points, beat Collingwood by 66 points, and then beat Freo in the game before that by 2 goals. I suppose maybe the knock on them is they haven't played enough elite teams in this last 2 months of footy. But you're going out week in, week out and flogging pretty handy. Like Collingwood and Carlton, they're not. It's not like the Richmond and Bruce games of the last 2 weeks. They're still going out and beating these big Melbourne clubs by 12 goals. It's going to be hard to bet against them, but for mine, I think just the prowess of the Dogs midfield.
I think that GWS game is probably the standard, as you will,
and
they were really close.
Yeah.
So I think it will be competitive. It'll be a good close game of footy. Maybe they can jag this one, but I just don't think they're premiership ready.
Friend of the show, former contributor, Macca, mad Western Bulldogs fans.
I'd like to see him definitely continue.
Well, we're having a few beers at a wedding last weekend, and he's like, that was it's a litmus test when we go and play against the Giants. He maybe took it a little bit into the hyperbolic, saying, we win that game, we win the flag. He's fired up. But I think he had some points there that, if you can go out to, a windy Ballarat and put away a pretty handy side in the Giants, maybe the grand final aspirations I wouldn't say likely, but are definitely possible.
Yeah, they're a good squad. There's no doubt of that.
Odds, Monks?
Yeah, so Bulldogs are favourites at $1.68. Hawthorn is out at $2.19.
Value there.
Yep. Very tasty contest there.
Battle of the Bridge is the Saturday Arvo game, qualifying final, and two teams that couldn't have had any different, runs into the September. Sydney here are favoured, but obviously fell off a cliff in the last month and a bit.
I feel like they righted the ship
over the last 2 weeks.
Over the last 2 weeks, they've kind of, it's like, all right, we've won a few games, we're going into the final period, we've had our little wobble. Hopefully, starting to get healthy again. Make sure we got everyone available, and to go on a run. So I think Sydney is still really good, but Toby Green can turn up and niggle the shit out of them, and they just lose their
and the Coleman medalists, and a guy that I thought was snubbed not to make the All-Australian squad in Tom Green, incredible inside midfielder. Just make all 22 of them inside midfielders.
They're a good. Again, GWS a good football team. There's a reason they're there and playing Sydney week 1. So, for do I say the winner of this is probably maybe playing in the final potentially.
I don't think that's outrageous to
Yeah.
say, given it's a coin
Probably
flip.
not.
Yeah.
This is the last month of footy, or just over a month for the Swans.
Yeah.
31-point winners against the Crows, 39-point winners against the Bombers, 3-point winners against Collingwood. So did right the ship. Mm-hmm. Then before then, 112-point losers at the Adelaide Oval to Port Adelaide. Famously, no one has ever won a flag having lost any game by 100 points. The week before that, lost to the Bulldogs by 39. The week before that, lost to the Lions by 2 points. Notoriously slow starters. In fact, was 71 zip or something in that Port Adelaide game. So need to get out to a strong start. I'm sure Horse that's been the focus of training over the last 10 days has been let's start strong and make sure that we don't have to come back from 6 goals down.
Exactly. It'd be a very GWS thing to win this and make Sydney go the hard way. What's the odds say?
Yeah, Sydney is favourites, but I find this one hard to pick. I think for mine, Port and Brisbane, unfortunately, are probably the obvious picks. This one a little bit harder, but I'll go the Swans.
Yep. So Swans are favourites, $1.63, and GWS are $2.28. It's a little bit further out, but yeah.
The shortest one here is the Saturday evening game. The Lions take on Carlton in the elimination final.
At the Gabba.
Carlton just really lucky to be there, to be honest.
Backed in, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, much like my Dragons. Our Dragons.
Yeah.
Our Dragons. Apologies. My Blues. There we go. I've worked it out in my head. Bombers and Dragons, Blues and Dragons. All the permutations playing out in my head.
Yeah.
So
the Bombers made finals?
Well, yeah, unfortunately. Well, look, it applies to all our bad teams. All have played shit footy over the last month and a bit. So Carlton lucky to be there. We'll get a stack of troops back. So that St Kilda game didn't have Curnow, didn't have Mackay, didn't have TDK.
They were missing 17 like a week ago. So
17, but probably 10
starters.
Yeah.
But still, that's a lot.
Fucking
lot.
That's
on the side.
It wasn't the full VFL team, but you're missing your two key forwards, a ruck, sprinkle in a few midfield contributors amongst that. It's always going to be hard to win against anyone. So 100%. Was very happy with the effort that they put in out west the penultimate week, and then a pretty disappointing but close hit out against the Kilda last week.
Yeah. But you think Brisbane at home at the Gabba is
one of the scariest tasks in footy, isn't it?
Yeah, very difficult. So, I think Brisbane heavy favourites for a reason.
I wonder how much of a bad taste in their mouth they have from last year's prelim as well, having been up 5 or 6 goals and starting to think about grand final footy to have that taken away for them, or do they use that as a fire and have that playing on repeat over the last couple of weeks and say, come on, boys, you can play well against this outfit. It's going to be hard. It's going to be loud. It's going to be plenty of Lions fans up there, but I'm sure plenty of people will be jumping on the plane as well to try and get up there and support them. Yeah. But it seems like the one where the odds seem to reflect the general feeling leading into this one the most.
Yep, I agree.
Monks, what are those odds?
Yes, so Brisbane are, as you said, the shortest of the week at $1.29. The Blues are out at $3.62. Lions have only lost 4 games at home this season.
Which, sometimes they lose one.
Yeah.
Who's beaten them up there?
And that was the start of the year as well, though.
Yeah.
Carlton's, that's,
opening round. And then Collingwood in round 3. And then where am I going after that? Geelong in round 6. And then GWS in 22.
All pretty reasonable sides.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder there that they did it. They did it in the opening round. One up in Brisbane against the runners up of last year. Hopefully Vossi's reminded them of that, and 6 months is a lot can happen in footy, but that's certainly I think a big boost for their own personal belief, and really it's only the playing group that really matters.
I'd also say on the flip side for the Lions, like their first 10 weeks were dreadful, and 3 of those losses at home were in that period. So I think that that's kind of again, we'll steal them. It's like, hey, we're a better side than we were at the start of the year. We've played excellent throughout that. That one loss to GWS, you go back to that team just seems to pop up and win games in places they probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, they had a few little wobbles leading into finals, losing that GWS and Collingwood game, but it was at 10 that they won in a row, middle of the year.
Yep.
So running into a pretty white-hot Brisbane Lions outfit up there, one of the hardest tasks in footy.
Yep.
Got to believe, though. Got to believe. It all kicks off Thursday night, and then Friday night, doubleheader Saturday. So let's go. Footy finals.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a wee bit of cricket. We've got the cricket on in the background at the moment. Two big talking points to get to here in the cricket segment. The first one is probably how good is Joe Root? I think we can all agree very fucking good. Yep. The interesting comparison is to always make regarding Joe Root is how good is he versus the other big 3?
Yep.
So
the Fab 4, as you will.
The Fab 4. Second test at Lords, currently underway. Sri Lanka doing their best to try and save this. I think it's inevitably going to end up in an England win. Yep. All off
big target for them.
All off the back of Joe Root. You take Joe Root out of this game, and it's probably a reasonably even contest. Joe Root has got a century in both innings. His 33rd and 34th test centuries. That is the most for England ever, surpasses Alastair Cook. And in terms of total runs, is only a few hundred behind Alastair Cook. Will certainly go down as England's top run scorer in history, and possibly test matches top run scorer, depending on how long he wants to play for.
Well, he's had the most runs and most centuries at Lords as well. So, as you do with English guys, with the amount of matches he's been playing and winning. So, but he's stealing all of Alastair Cook's records, essentially. And having Alastair Cook on commentary was a little bit funny as well. He looked super happy for all his records being taken. So, a little bit awkward there. But I think he was also happy that England and doing so well, Root's been so good for them.
I think he'll be pretty happy that English cricket is in a much better place now than it was just a couple of years ago. Look, let's start to make this comparison against the other 3 in the Fab 4. Virat Kohli, Steve Smith, Kane Williamson, Joe Root.
Yeah, so post the COVID era, so since 2021.
This is from January 1, 2021.
Yeah, so Joe Root's doubled his centuries. He had 17 and he scored 17 in that period to take him to 34. In that same period, Kohli had that big stretch where he didn't get anything.
Close to 2 years, I think, without... It was over 2 years, wasn't it, that he didn't have a test ton?
Yeah, so he's only had 2 in those years. Steve Smith's had 6 and Kane Williamson has had 9. So of the Fab 4, he's definitely been the more dominant one in that period. Yeah. But then there's also that conversation about, England play a fuckload of cricket compared to everyone else. So how does it actually compare?
Fuckload of test cricket.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, they prioritise their red ball cricket. Not that they don't care about white ball cricket, but just in terms of sheer numbers of games played, they are the most red ball centric. India are the most white ball centric, and we fit somewhere in between. One could just argue, well, on a centuries per games played, he's actually he has the lowest strike rate, if you will, just a tick over 4 games played to each century. 144 tests for 34 centuries. Sean's done the maths for us. So Kohli's in 113 games played. So
29.
So 3.9 matches per 100. Smith has played 109, so 3.4 matches per 100. And the best strike rate of them all, Williamson, 100 matches played, 3.1 matches per 100.
Yeah. So, if you do the quick math to add, the extra 30-odd games to make them equal to what Root had done, those guys would probably be about 40. So, the overall strike rate is a little bit better.
So, what's playing into people still dissing Joe Root in comparison to the others. It can't just be, oh, well, they play heaps of red ball cricket.
Yeah.
English cricket.
Yeah, he's a pommy.
He's a pom. Literally heard that out of the mouths of a few of my mates this morning, or out of their fingers, texting in the group chat.
Yeah.
I think that he's never scored 100 in Australia.
That also.
That's a big knock on him. Much like it's a rough comparison. Obviously, he's been better here than what Warner was in England, but it's a massive stain on Warner's career as well. The performance over there,
home field advantage, shock.
That plays into it. But I'm starting to think, and I've started to think this for a little while. You gotta give credit where credit's due. He's a pom. It's not you can't just say, "Oh fuck him, he's a pom."
Yeah, But you take him out of this side, and they suck. So
yeah, he's been carrying.
He carried them in India
up there at the moment, and it's just littered with blue, and 3 of those big double tons as well at the back end of 2020 into the start of 2021. The last 4 years has been incredible. Like, I don't care about frequency. You still got to go out there and score runs, and it's just fucking just blues and a few yellows there on how's that, which is tons and double tons.
I think you made a good point as well about he's holding that team up. Like, you have a look at how many
pressure.
Yeah, how many centuries
and when he hits them as well,
he's not out as well. So he's batting all the way
just
through.
he's carrying his bat, and from their top 6, he's been the only consistent thing. They're actually lucky that they've had him and a good bowling lineup in this Bazball era to have actually won much Test cricket at all.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And we talk about it each year, who's going to be the top 3 for England, and it's been a fucking revolving door. Since Cook and Strauss have been out of the side. It's been a good 5 or 6 years where they haven't had any consistency. Luckily now that Duckett and Crawley are starting to show a little bit. They've just started to probably have a top order established for some period of time, but before Crawley and Duckett were established, it was really Root and Stokes, to be fair, at 4 and 5 or 4 and 6. The only consistency in English cricket, from a batting perspective.
Yeah, agree. What I think might actually be interesting, which we won't do now, would actually be the comparison for how many matches and tests in that 3-4 year bracket. Because maybe post 30 years old, Joe Root has actually been better and striking better than the other 3. So, the others might have got him as young fellas, but his back end of his career has been much better than
he's fine whining it, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So,
because I remember a stage when people used to start calling the Fab Four, and I was like, "Fuck off!" Like it's like this is the 3 and Joe Root. Like, why are you putting Joe Root in the same sentence as Smith and Virat? Essentially, if you spoke to me, say, circa 2019. Now I think it's undeniable. I think you have to say these are the big 4 of the generation. It lines up so well that there's one from each of the big 3, and then throw our Kiwi brothers in there. And shout out to Williamson, who's been unreal as well over the last little bit of Test cricket. And you talk about importance to his team.
Again,
undeniable. But I think the Aussies have to sort of sit back and tip your cap, and you can still hate them for being poms, but you should also, game recognised game and say, it's been one of the most elite sort of 4-year cycles of batting that we've seen.
I agree, and it's only going to continue by the looks of it, and like you say, as a comparison to the other 3 in this period of their careers, as they're getting old fellas, as you will, he's been more dominant. So it'll be interesting to see how they finish up.
Needs a ton in Australia for, I think, a few Australians to start to really tip the cap. And here's one for you as well. If he becomes the highest scorer,
he's about 3,000 away from Sachin.
If you can get the most runs ever in Test cricket, so Sachin, Punter is still ahead of him. He's about to go past Cook. Sangakkara's ahead of him.
12.
Callis ahead of him. I'm doing this off the top of my head.
I think. Yeah.
Anyways, because some of the arguments that we get with Jimmy Anderson, and I think it's a different kettle of fish as well with bowlers, the longevity obviously plays into it. I don't think any reasonable sort of thinking cricket man is going to say that Jimmy Anderson is a better bowler than Glenn McGrath was at the peak of his powers, or was he Macron, or his longevity played into it.
Exactly. maintaining health is still a skill in itself, but it's it's a different thing.
Yeah.
So, but they play, as we said, they play so much Test cricket, and if you can do that over a 20-year career, and to get the statistics, they're like, I give you props for that, being able to keep that longevity.
Throw in any of the West Indian bowlers of the 70s and 80s, Sir Richard Hadley.
Again, talent-wise, the Sean Johnson conversation we had earlier, like talent-wise, they're probably better talent. But, their stats won't hold up against the guys that can play longer and keep racking up the numbers.
Here's how the numbers stand at the moment. Root is 7th all-time, crazy to think of, at the age of 30. How old is he?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question. How old is Joe?
So reached that total at 31 and 157
Are you
days.
shocked? Can you get his birthday up?
Can he,
That is wild.
Go back to his Wikipedia. I had him up a second ago. What's his actual age?
Alistair Cook made 300 more runs at the same age.
Yeah, but
he also played more tests.
He's born 1990, I'm pretty sure.
So
Yeah, thank you. So 33.
Yeah.
So still could go number one. So Root is 12,131, 7th. Ahead of him, Sangakkara, 12,400. Alistair Cook, 12,472.
I think that's the date he made 10,000 runs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sure he's same age as me. What have I done more than life? He's actually a tick younger. So he's 300 odd behind Sangakkara and Cook. So within the next 6 months, you'd imagine he's going to go he's going to go top 5. And then he's got a little bit of work to get to Rahul Dravid at 3,200 odd. Callis around the same amount. And then Punter just at 100 runs ahead of them. So it's pretty much undeniable, barring some sort of horrific injury, that he's going to go number 2
or if he wants to retire or something like that. But yes.
His average, albeit how good his last 4 years have been, his average still sits at 50.33. You look at everyone above him other than Cook, again, England playing lots of cricket. Sangakkara's average 57, Dravid 52, 55 for Callis, 52 for Ricky Ponting, 54 just about for Sachin. So a little tick below all of those guys.
You talk about Alistair Cook, he got his 33 centuries from 163 matches.
A lot of Test cricket.
They play a lot of Test cricket, so...
I think if he goes number 1 of all time, and batting is different to bowling in some regards, I don't think you have to say, well, he's number 1, so he's better than Sachin Tendulkar. No, obviously I'm not advocating for that, but I think just to disregard him as a cricketer because they play a lot of red ball cricket is just stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to be interesting to see. He's looking at it. He's going to go at least number 2.
Yeah. All right. That's enough sucking off the bomb.
That feels dirty, doesn't it? Feels very dirty.
See you in a couple of years.
Will Pekoski.
Unfortunate news.
Reportedly forced into early retirement following bulk concussions. Bugs, if you wouldn't mind bringing up his...
He had one, a couple of months ago.
I feel like reported he's had probably 3 in the last 18 months, bad ones.
Yep. We've talked about there's obviously something in his style where there's just something where he's just not seeing those ones, and the risk is high if that's the case that he's going to get more. So he's struggled with those demons and with those the mental aspect that comes with that. So it's a brain injury, and especially for a young fella, it's not something you want. So don't put yourself in harm's way in that risk. And we've talked about it with the AFL guys, and same sort of conversation. Some of the NRL as well. So put your own well-being first. It's a bit unfortunate, and I think we've also talked about it. Everyone was saying he's the next punter coming out. Like it's a foregone thing. He's going to be so dominant, and it's just like, just let the bloke play. Don't put so much on him.
Yeah, the pressure is difficult, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So that pressure, and
anointed one from such a young age.
Yeah, and then the consequences why you're not playing because you're injured. It's just unfortunate.
You hear a fair bit of stupid rhetoric as well, like when around mental health. Or, you're an athlete, like get out there.
Yeah, you get paid big money. Suck it up.
Yeah. For a red ball cricketer like Will Pekoski, comparably, actually probably doesn't make a whole heap of money.
No, not unless he's playing for Australia. So.
Exactly. So I don't think money's really playing into this decision at all. I think it's his long-term brain health that's probably playing into it. And cricket is so mental. batting in particular is so mental. So if anything is out there, you know, you need to get on top of that. And clearly he's having some sort of, you know, post-concussive symptoms as well, which, you know, we talk about it, I feel like every other week when it comes to the contact sports. So for him to be treated any differently as a cricketer is, you know, by the people in the general public that maybe don't really know what they're talking about so much, it's a bit frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. And getting hit by a cricket ball doing 150 k's an hour. Exactly. It might not be swinging arm Hardgraves, like it's a different kind of contact, but it's gonna hurt. And definitely, even with wearing a helmet, like hit in the wrong spot, and it's
and again, that's like it's highly unlikely, and it's hard to not think of Phil Hughes in that. But you know, you're much more likely to, unfortunately, probably have a car accident on the way to training.
Yes.
In terms of the severe acute circumstances or consequences, I should say. But post-concussive syndrome is a fucking real thing.
Yeah, it's real.
And if you're having a few and you're in your 20s and you've got to think, you know,
just go look at all the CTE out in the NFL. And
exactly.
States.
Like when do I pull the pin? And you know, I hope that we've already seen a little bit of sort of grooming for a media position. You know, hopefully they can bring him in and get looked after by Cricket Australia in that regard. I don't look at him any differently for pulling the pin early. In fact, I think I look at him with more respect for saying, well, I'm you know, concerned about my brain. I'm in my 20s and I want to do the best thing for my health long term.
I agree.
Anyways, regardless, it's sad because a lot of Aussie cricket fans, you know, pressure aside or hope or whatever you want to put into it, saw an elite talent, you know, that and I think most people wanted to see him succeed. Probably a lot of people just sad that it's not going to come to fruition.
Yeah, exactly.
But given the last 2 years, not unexpected. Thinking of you, Will. I think it's a brave decision, mate, to pull the pin and hoping to hear you in commentary or podcast form.
Good luck for all the future.
Yeah, exactly right. Moving forward. Aussies do play a big series, boys. 3 T20 internationals against Scotland. They start Wednesday. Hazelwood is out with a calf strain. Riley Meredith called in. Some interesting names here as well. Mitch Marsh, Sean Abbott, Xavier Bartlett, Cooper Connolly. Hopefully he gets a T20 international cap. We've followed him over the last little bit. Tim David, Nathan Ellis, Jake Fraser McGurk, being of pressure and anointed ones. You know, certainly, you know, a lot of Australians jumping to conclusions as to how the rest of his career is going to go, but good little opportunity for him to make some runs. Cam Green, Aaron Hardy, Travis Head, Josh Inglis, Riley Meredith, as aforementioned, Big Stoyne, and his best friend, Adam Zamps. Not super concerned about Scotland games, although I hope they don't drop one to Scotland.
No.
And then it runs into an English white balls only series after they finish against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, we don't have Test cricket till the summer.
Till India.
Yeah.
Which, you know, give it 2 and a bit months and
it'll be here. Yeah.
So keen, man. A little nervous, but very keen. And
He's not the Gabba.
Keen to talk about it. Yeah, we on this podcast famously have some scars regarding the Gabba in a video that we put out.
Oh, it's a fortress again, bro.
Yeah, I think
India afraid of the Gabba.
Yeah, check it out. India afraid of the Gabba. Historically, yes. All right, that'll do us for cricket, I think, boys. It's September, so that means footy finals. It means cricket is close. And for us on this podcast, it means one big thing. Some NFL.
Time.
Oh, he broke his ankles.
Going to do our Super Bowl and MVP picks before chatting some big deals, talking a bit of fantasy, doing a little bit of rookie watch and some college football that got underway today. Super Bowl 59 will be in just 4 months' time. The Chiefs open as favourites at $6.50, 49ers are 7s, Ravens are 11s, and a team that you like at $12 is?
The Lions, yeah. So they were my pick. Is a little bit of a fun pick for the NFC. So I was looking at it and I like what the Lions have Jared Goff plays better indoors, and I think he's got 15 games this year indoors.
Maybe it's 15. Fuck, bit of mayo, who cares?
Because most of the games they play on the road are
think it's
indoors
14
as well. So
Anyways, doesn't matter.
Well, anyway, there's a lot. So he plays almost the entire season indoors. So that'll benefit that team a lot. It'll be interesting comes finals if they have to say go to Green Bay or something like that when it's cold. But yeah, I really like them, and I had Houston as my AFC guy. So Lions versus Texans.
That is fun.
Super
You got
Bowl.
brackets there in the notes. Fun. That is fun.
That's my fun. We don't need bloody Chiefs again. Fuck them off. Or 49ers. They've had their opportunities. Yeah, let's have some fun. And Lions, Texans. Let's see them make a run and maybe get a Super Bowl.
Well, if that was a Super Bowl, we'd have a first-time winner because neither of those teams
clubs have won.
Have won one. And the Lions, you saw as each team sort of dropped out. This is coming from a Packers fan. A lot of people were like, I kind of want the Lions to beat the 49ers.
Yep.
I kind of want the Lions to go out there and if they would have face off the eventual Chiefs, I think they would have had a lot of support from other clubs, fans coming through for them. You look at this team on paper, there's no reason why they can't be better this year.
Yeah.
Laporta, rookie last year. A lot of projections have him going, top 2 tight end this year.
Yep.
Amon Ra is probably only going to be better. Jameer Gibbs is only going to be better.
Williams, I think, as well, is going to really...
Jameson Williams?
Yeah, Jameson Williams. Like, he's going to be wide receiver 2 definitely for them. And he gives them a real big threat that they missed for a lot of last year as well. So,
running through the offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in football. Penei Sewell is young. He's only going to get better. Aiden Hutchinson on the other side of the ball is only going to get better. I have some question marks around their defense as a unit.
Hutchinson's the big name.
Yeah, exactly.
Some name value.
Anzalone as a inside linebacker is pretty good. Young Terrion Arnold, high draft pick from last year. I think their nose tackle DJ Redder is pretty handy football player. Yep. But I think when you compare that to some of the elite defenses,
like talk about 49ers as an
example. Exactly. So they're going to have to rely on their offensive brilliance and playing a bunch of games in the dome. With that offense, I have no worries whatsoever about their offense, and I'm terrified for when the Packers have to play them, especially at home.
Yep.
But defense does win championships, and I have a little question mark around their defense, which is interesting because I've gone the Packers to win the whole thing. Look, $18. I don't know how much of this is head, how much is heart, but very impressed with Jordan Love.
You're talking at your ass, so either way could go.
Well, they're $18 and the Lions are $12.
Yeah.
So
they're not far.
They're not far off it. I think if we wanted to do probably the most reasonable pick here is all go Chiefs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because beating that Mahomes-led Chiefs, and we saw it in the Super Bowl, you just have the feel. I just felt that whole end of that game that I've seen this before, bro. I've seen the script, and the script is that the Chiefs win this. But I've gone the Packers for a bit of fun. Let's have a look at them on paper. Just bringing them up here.
Yeah, well, I think their strong suit is that the young receiving core. No true wide receiver 1, but they've got a lot of talent they can spread around.
Yeah, Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Dontavian Wicks also pretty handy. Yeah. They might have 4 fantasy relevant receivers, and Luke Musgrave probably going to be a pretty reasonable tight end. Bring across Josh Jacobs.
Jordan Love's big contract, and he looked really good his back end of last year. So hopefully he can continue that. We'd hate for him to fall on his face in the start of this year, but I think with that receiving core, he should be pretty good.
He has to stay healthy because Malik Willis ain't taking anyone to divisionals. But offensive line is okay. It's not great. So there's a big question mark there. And defense, again, is okay, but not great. Yeah. They're a bit big name heavy. Like J.R. Alexander is legitimate. One of the best corners in the league.
I really like Stokes as well. So
Stokes is pretty good. Rashan Gary was in the top 100 this past year, and Kenny Clark and Preston Smith on the D line aren't bad either. But then again, they're not an elite defense. They're probably a bit better than the Lions defense, but they're probably not a 49ers or a Ravens defense.
Again,
I am talking a little bit out of my ass. $18 if you like the Packers to get it, and I've gone the Packers taking on the Chiefs. Repeat of the first Super Bowl. History does repeat itself, boys. That's been my pick. Monks.
Fox always right twice today.
Yeah, that's right. You've gone the shortest option here, but I think very, very good chance that we see these guys win it.
Yeah. So you actually mentioned the two teams I'm going to talk about just a second ago. So I think the 49ers will beat the Baltimore Ravens this year. So
Probably the most reasonable pick.
yeah, again, outside of going the Chiefs.
Yes.
Going very boring with my pick. Yeah, 49ers are $7 to win it outright.
Which is second shortest, just behind those Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep, that's it. But a note you made earlier was they are 5-3 in Super Bowl, and they've lost their last three.
Last
Super
three,
Bowl.
yeah.
Last three
They're
the times
due,
they've
bro.
gone through. So, yeah, they're due, I guess. So.
Check out that
Let's see.
offense.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey,
Stacked.
Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, who they've just signed that, put pen to paper. We'll get to that in a
Yep.
second.
Yeah.
George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, one of the better offensive lines getting around. Trent Williams holding out. Is that
that's
no
the
news
contract
as of
at the moment,
today?
which is a big concern because when he didn't play last year, they didn't win a game.
team.
They didn't win a game without him. So I think that during that period, they're also missing a bit of Kittle and a bit of Debo
Wasn't just
as well.
him, no.
So yeah, they were missing a few guys, and they struggled and didn't win those games. I think didn't the Ravens put them to the sword in one of those
Yeah,
games?
smacked
But
them up
yeah,
bad, I think.
Yeah, so they're a different team without all their stars, but when they've got the starting 11, they're very, very hard to beat.
Yep.
Plus, in that defense is very good.
Yeah, so of
Oh,
the
defense,
three teams that
yeah.
we've spoken about, the best defense, hands down. That front seven is formidable. Leonard Floyd joins this year to go along with Nick Bosa, Drake Greenlaw coming back from the Achilles, Fred Warner. That's some of the most elite defensive players in the game. Secondary probably not as strong, but Hufanga's come a long way.
Playing behind that front
as a
seven also
safety.
makes it a little bit
Charvarius Ward's a pretty good corner. They're a very formidable defense as well. I can't question you. I think they're the shortest team in the NFC for a reason. I think health is probably important, as per any team. We just spoke about if Jordan Love goes down, probably don't see Malik Willis, taking the Packers very far. I think for them, it's Brock Purdy's been great, but you may be able to park a Brandon Allen there, maybe not win a Super Bowl, but go deep. But I think Sam C is obviously the big one there. He changes games single-handedly, has to stay healthy, and there'll be a bunch of people's fantasy teams. That'll be their fantasy season will be riding on his broad shoulders.
Yeah, I think they did I think it was of teams that had CMC on them in fantasy football, 70% of them won championship last year.
Is that just from having him?
Just for having him? So,
I think if you passed up on him number one in anything that's not sort of super flex or weird rules, I think you might have rocks for brains. But anyways, time will tell. So you've got 49ers beating the Ravens. Let's talk quickly about the Ravens. They bring the king across, Lamar Jackson. We'll talk about him in just a second. And an elite defense. Maybe receiver depth if you wanted to get nitpicky.
Yeah, well, they OBJ was there and they've kind of let him go, and it's just back to Bateman and Flowers as their main two. But I think Mark Andrews is probably, if he's healthy, he's a big target getter for them. So
he could be tight end one this year.
Yeah, again.
No reason why Big Andrews can't do that.
So and Lamar's Lamar. He'll always be a threat. And I hate RPOs with Derrick Henry. Like, fuck me.
Dude, like close to the goal line, and it kind of made it a little bit difficult in fantasy drafting. Is like, how many is Henry going to score? I can see him scoring 18, 20 touchdowns because Lamar historically doesn't score a whole bunch of touchdowns. He gets a whole lot of rush yards, and then they normally have punched it in with the back.
Yeah, he's not a
kind of
Jalen Hurts.
Exactly. He's the inverse of Hurts. Hurts is touchdown heavy and gets less yards. So, like exactly you say, if you're 1 yard out and the RPO is Lamar and the king, fucking good luck.
Yeah.
That might be this year's tush push.
Yep.
It's going to be very, very difficult. It's difficult to stop one of those guys. To stop either of them, out of the shotgun with the option, it's going to be very difficult. But I like the Ravens. I like them as a pick for the AFC. I think lots of football fans, outside of Chiefs fans, are probably getting sick of the Chiefs. All right, let's talk some MVPs. You've got that man that we just spoke about, Lamar Jackson. Let me run through some of the favourites. Mahomes $5, Josh Allen $8.50, CJ Stroud would be fun at $10, Joe Burrow $10, Jalen Hurts $14. You've got Lamar for the Triple Crown.
Yep, yeah, and the reasons you just gave before, like I think they're going to be pretty good. I think it's probably I think the way they played last year as well, they were very dominant. They kind of seemed like a playoff team, and they just. Yeah. I think they fell short right at the wrong moment for them. So I think they're looking to correct that, and I think Lamar could come and win another MVP.
I think on paper as well, there's an argument that they could be better.
Yeah.
Than what they were last year. I just want to have a look at their defense. Sorry to make this a conversation about Baltimore. Obviously, individual success is going to go along with team success as well. Defensively, still got some mad names on there. Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, to name a few. Yeah, there's probably an argument that they haven't improved on defense. Obviously, they're going to be better on offense, you'd think, bringing in Henry and having Andrews healthy. He missed half a season last year. And then, again, Lamar's Lamar. I don't know if he actually needs all that much talent around him. He's been able to do things with guys on paper that aren't really that good.
Yeah, well, they're a really well-coached team. There's that as well. So they've got one of the longest consistent head coaches over there. So, and they did pick Walker later, go back to that wide receiver core, big target receiver. So maybe he's been a bit slow coming on in pre-season, but it wouldn't shock me if he finds a good role for them as a bit of a deep threat for some jump balls as well. Yeah,
generally 3 is ideal. Generally, you need 2 legitimately good receivers. I think Zay Flowers proved last year that he's pretty good at football.
Yep.
So they're going to need someone to step up to be that number 2. Aguilar, we've seen bits and pieces in the past, but Bateman's the big question mark.
Yeah, he's been
and then we'll see if Devontae Walker can add another target for Lamar.
And they really like Isaiah Likely as well.
Yeah, so don't get 2 tight end sets a lot. And, if go down the goal line, and if you got 2 tight ends,
who can catch.
Yeah, who can catch and block, and then you got Lamar and Derrick Henry to watch out for in the backfield. It's gonna be hard to stop. I was interested as well, if you're into having a little punt, the Aussie market for Lamar Jackson to win the MVP is $14.
Yep.
This is a guy that's won 2 previously. Mahomes in there at $5, fair enough. But to have Hurts, Burrow, Stroud, Allen all shorter than him, interesting.
Yeah, I thought so as well. That's why I really liked him at that kind of value.
A guy that's the exact same value, and I've gone him.
Just keep you sucking off your backers. So.
Well, I feel like if you win this, I've already gone at a stretch here for the Packers winning the Super Bowl.
He's had 10 good games, bro.
So if they win the Super Bowl, if they win the Super Bowl, Jordan Love's MVP. That's it.
True.
End of argument.
Yeah, true.
You just have to. I just have to convince you on the other points, which probably didn't do a very good job of. But they've paid him like an MVP. You pay about $220 million. You want him to play like an MVP. The bookies think he's pretty good. $14, and he was 34 in the top 100.
Yep,
which is incredible. Yes, the bloke's had 10 good games. Okay, he's in a pretty good offense. Okay, that's pretty well coached. So he has all of that going for him. Maybe we're getting a little bit too far ahead of ourselves with the Jordan Love hype. But look, they've done this as an organisation for fucking 30 years.
Well, I think that's what everyone thinks. That there's like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers into Jordan Love. That's exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
But, he could just have the biggest regression of all time. And everyone's just like, fuck, what have we done?
He could.
He could be Deshaun Watson next week. So
he could. And
you've paid him all that money.
Bro, it's the not for long league. It's the not for long league.
Yeah.
I get that. We just had cut day and we're looking at some of those names, and some of them were first round picks fucking 2 years ago.
Last year.
It's different with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It is so different. These guys in these
head
offices.
If you've got a guy, you want to keep him.
At good organisations, that will be the caveat.
Yeah.
At good organisations, they know what they're doing.
Yep.
And I think Love is going to be good. I think it's hard because essentially 2 of the better teams in the NFC will be in the NFC North, and the Bears are only going to get better as well, you'd think.
Yeah, the Bears look tasty on offense. But
so they've got that going against them.
Yep.
They have to run a team that's going to be probably a little bit more offensively focused and win, in that Green Bay, in those Green Bay conditions at the end of the year. Yeah. But they'll love that. They'll say, "Fuck you, Detroit! If we, get a home final in the frozen tundra, we'd love that. I'm sure they'd rather that than go play
Detroit,
and play against a high-powered offense in the dome." But anyways, just off the back of the Packers winning the Super Bowl this year, I've gone Jordan Love, $14. Realistically, I think is a little bit too short if Lamar's also at 14. But look, there's lots of people now that are starting to think, hey, this guy's the real deal, including bookies and including players. So for me, when I start thinking about things and I look at the deal and I look at those two groups of people thinking that someone's good, I go, yeah, the guy's probably pretty good.
Yep.
Monks, we know this guy's good at football. The question is...
Can he win this?
Is the MVP just for quarterbacks?
I mean, that's it. He probably should have already won at least one or two. Obviously, we're talking about CMC being the highest or the highest favourite. That's not a QB position.
Shortest
favourite, yeah. At
$51.
$51, yeah.
Wild, but I think it's...
Who do we say? No, not
yeah. There's some names on there. That
Caleb Williams.
I was like, really?
Yeah.
Like Anthony Richardson. Like again, looks like he's good at football. He's had 2 good games in the NFL. he's at 34.
Shorter than CMC.
So it's obviously the MVP has become increasingly quarterback heavy. So we'd have to do something historically that's looking less and less likely. And you had a great point before that. If Cooper Kupp didn't win it a few years ago when he had the year that he had, no one other than a quarterback is getting it.
Yeah, well, AP was, again, go back to 2012, his 2K season, all the touchdowns. He was the last.
Another running back right there.
Running back. And then before then, LaDainian Tomlinson. And before that, Sean Alexander.
Yeah.
So it's much more likely from the running back position than from other positions.
Yeah, so and then
Marshall Faulk
in
before
2000. But that's 4 in the last 24 years. So
you're saying would you?
Terrell Davis.
True.
Hey, that sticks with your argument there. If the 49ers are due and if the 49ers win the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah.
Again, MVP is announced before Super Bowl, but...
but if they're going to the Super Bowl...
he had to have played pretty well.
Yeah, but that happened last year. And
What does he have to do to win it, do you think? Given
what
break LT's touchdown record?
Which is how many?
20 something.
I think it's like 28. Can you find that? It's a fuckload.
Yes.
I could see a world, maybe realistically.
Well, you get LT's numbers, I'll get CMC's, and
he's probably got to rush for 20 and catch
10,
10 or 8 or something. Realistically, I probably don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Does he have to break the record for him to win the MVP? Could he have...
Cooper Kupp broke all the records and didn't still fucking win.
Yeah,
you got to win. You got to break something.
And he's 28.
Rushing touchdowns, so...
And that's just 28 rushing.
Yeah, 28 rushing. What did he have in receivings that year?
Yeah, find out that season for LT. I don't see him rushing for 28.
CMC had 14 last year, and then the previous years is full seasons for him is 15 and 14.
Yeah,
and receiving 7 last year, and his other big year was 4. So, he's getting about 20 touchdowns a year.
What do you have last year? 21.
21 in total. Yep.
I could see a world because people were like, "Fuck, he's in the conversation."
Yeah, and 1,500 rush yards. So you remember those other guys were up close to
2,000.
2K.
So let's say he has 1,800 rush yards. Yep. He runs in 24 touchdowns.
Yeah. 20-something touchdowns.
Let's say he has 1,800 rushing yards. He rushes for 20 touchdowns. He has another, say, 600 receiving yards and catches 8 touchdowns. You think? Do you reckon he's the MVP?
Well, look at his 2019 season.
He needs to do better than what he's done previously.
But he had 1,300 yards.
Yeah.
15 touchdowns.
That's not
but
enough.
Then he also had 116 receptions.
That's for 1,000
yards with another 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, but
he had wide receiver numbers as well, and he still couldn't win the fucking award.
Okay, so say he goes close to that. I don't think he's going to do that as a receiver.
No, he's not going to do that.
But he could do better as a rusher, and in this offense, he could have 20 rushing touchdowns.
Yes. Yeah. I think it has to be a generational season. Like what LT did, like what AP did to be able to win it. Otherwise, it's just like who's the best quarterback this year.
And in their offense, when they can throw it to Kittle or they can run a reverse to Debo, or they can throw it to Ayuk.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
there's a lot of variables there, isn't there? I like it. I like that it's a conversation starter.
It's always going to be a conversation, yeah.
But load up if you like CMC at $51.
Whack a tenner on him.
More realistically, back one of your quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah. So 2006, he had 28 rushing touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns.
31.
He threw for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. That's an MVP season. Yeah.
Daniel Tomlinson, 2006 was that season. All right, so let's talk some big deals, boys. CD Lamb and Brandon Ayuk just got paid. Jamar Chase not paid just yet. It's looking more than likely that he will put pen to paper.
By
all reports.
By all reports, yeah.
There's a lot of fantasy owners that'll be hoping.
Yeah, because the scenes a couple of days ago where showed up to practice in
no kit,
just
casual clothes,
said hello and everything, and then fucked off. So he wants a deal. T. Higgins still wants his deal as well. Like there's a conversation about what's going to happen with him. They're going to keep one of them, you'd think, and can they pay both? And
I don't think they can pay both.
Yeah.
So what do you do as an organisation? You take the slightly better receiver, pay him overs, keep him happy, or do you say no? Or do you say fuck? T. Higgins is still pretty good in his own right. We don't have to pay him probably the same deal as Jefferson or St. Brian kind of money.
Yeah. Well, Lamb and Ayuk's money, like they
explore options. Yeah,
it's like, do you want to pay Chase 40 mil average a year? To be comparable with all the other wide receivers that have just gone, or maybe you get Higgins for 30 or less. So and you're getting enough value out of that. Big challenge. I think if with that connection with Burrow and the history they have there with Chase, like it makes a lot of sense just to keep him and try to keep him together. But that's the challenge with the salary cap. So,
do you think he's as good as CD Lamb and Justin Jefferson?
Not yet. Give him another year.
Okay.
But I think he's comparable.
Yeah,
I think he's just younger and probably needs another year under his belt. So, isn't he still in his second last year of his rookie deal? Like,
he might have.
He's
one
not
more.
at the end.
Can you get his contract?
Because he came out the year after Lamb and Ayuk, didn't he? So those guys are at the end of their contracts, and now they're getting their big one. Where he's still probably he's a year away from where he should be.
I think he's a year. I think you're right.
Yeah. So. They might be like, hey, just wait. But he's also going like, hey, if I have an ACL injury, like,
of course,
I've got the risk here, so pay me now. Of course,
they want the money early as possible. I wonder how much say Joe Burrow has in this as well. Like, if you've got your franchise quarterback and
they just paid him a fuckload too.
But do they sit down with him and say, how much do you want to keep your LSU boy?
True.
Here in the building?
Are you Tom Brady? But then. They might also think that, hey, we're the Packers. We don't need first-round wide receivers. So we've got a generational quarterback and we'll just make do with what he got and he'll make him good.
And win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Have you got that deal?
2024. Yeah, and he's got...
So he's got next year on his deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right.
Yeah, but next year will be the voidable year, but it's he'll get paid more at market rates for that year. But it's the last year. So, year 5 is the last year of his rookie deal. Yeah. Which is what the other guys are just coming off. So,
yeah, it's a headache for Cincinnati, for their front office, for fantasy owners. It's, from what I'm hearing, it's looking like they're going to put pen to paper.
Yeah, I think that'd be silly not to. But, the 49ers tried real hard to trade Brandon Ayuk. They couldn't really get
Patriots had been thrown out there.
Yeah, they couldn't really get a team that he wanted to play for as well, like a good kind of combination of quarterbacks. So they ended up ponying up the money. We'll see how they go.
You had a little note in there about Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Originally drafted in 06.
Crazy.
Following year, Joe Thomas, Patrick Willis, Darren Willis, and Megatron all drafted in 07. Those four retired and in the Hall of Fame. And Marlon
when
Lewis,
you put it like that,
just re-signed with the Bears. I think only to their practice squad, but still in the league, still floating around.
How old is he? He must be 40.
He'd be up there. So he was.
So he's drafted
24 or 22 when he came out. Then
yeah. Say if he was 22.
Yeah.
When he got drafted, I think he's if he's not 40, he's 39.
Yeah, he'd be very close to it. So, and for a skill position, that's old
for tight ends, man. Yeah, for any, I suppose, but the blocking, the size and frame.
40 years old.
40 on the dot. 6'6", 265-pound athlete we're talking about here. Crazy.
Very interesting.
Our fantasy draft was last night. A lot of people would have drafted over this weekend, I would imagine. Normally, we often do a little segment on draft picks, given that we like fantasy football so much. We'll just talk briefly about it tonight. I think if you go the strategy of I don't give a fuck who my quarterback is in 10-man league, non-superflex type leagues, you're going to be fine. From our draft last night, 10-man league, these are some of the guys that didn't get drafted. Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers went in the last round, and lots of people in the draft looking at the board took 2 quarterbacks. So I think if you wait, if you haven't drafted yet, for one, and for two, if you wait and take your quarterback late, I don't think there's any harm in that. No. But if you want a top guy, obviously you're going to have to go pretty early. Our draft from last night, 3rd round, was Jackson, Hurts, Allen, Mahomes. That's in reverse order. Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Jackson is the way that it went. Stroud and Richardson were 5th rounders, and then there was a big sort of lull. Kyler Murray, and then a big lull, and then lots of people getting their backups late on, whether that be Tua, Brock Purdy, Jaden Daniels, going to be your starter, Justin Herbert. To think Justin Herbert going in the 13th round, pretty crazy. Joe Burrow. So I think quarterback is deep as fuck.
Yeah, and in a fantasy league, realistically, you only need one. If you really want to hold a backup for a long time, then that's up to you. But there's, if you're 10, 12 team leagues, you're getting a top 10 or 12 guy anyway. So you might as well wait. If you're happy to get number 10, then while everyone else is loading up on quarterbacks, load up on running backs and wide receivers. So
the injury risk for mine is too great. I think to take a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round, different in Superflex League. I'm playing in one this year where I took CMC with a 6th pick, so they went quarterback. So if you can play 2 quarterbacks each week, probably changes your draft strategy. See how we go in that league.
And scoring is also
scoring. If it's 6 points a touchdown rather than 4 points a touchdown, that's going to play into it differently. But it just in 10-man to even 12-man leagues, traditional scoring, I think the risk is a bit too high.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So. And, for us, we went pretty heavy on RBs. I think that was because keepers were really heavy on wide receivers as well. So
we have a 2-man keeper league. You can't keep for longer than 2 years. Lots of the receivers were already decimated, which also just confounded the fact that the top end of running back is crazy. You can get yourself a CMC or a Bijan or a Breece Hall with early picks. Then that next tier of Jonathan Taylor, Pacheco, Gibbs, Henry, Jacobs, Barkley, Mixon, Kamara.
A bit older as well.
ETN, all really good. And then it's like, when does it fall off the cliff? It's like Aaron Jones, okay, James Cook, is it David Montgomery? Is that where it falls off the cliff? Is it Javonte Williams? Is it
hopefully it's one after Montgomery?
I think there's really that second tier of really serviceable guys. And then it's a point where it's I don't feel confident starting that guy at all.
And I felt like inside the first 2 rounds was kind of, that tier of running backs. And then it was better value to target wide receivers post that. Because you're getting number 1 guys, wide receiver 1s on teams, and you can probably get them with half decent quarterbacks as well. So and target them that way.
In our league, in the first 3 rounds, there was 14 running backs that were chosen, and it dipped off, and then it was sort of round 8 onwards where we started kind of
darts.
just
throwing the darts at
specky running backs, trying to find some keeper
running backs on bad teams. Running backs are, was
handcuffs, rookies,
second year players, that kind of thing that maybe have pathways to starting. So, I was pretty happy. I got the 2 rookies that I really coveted. So, went well for me.
In Benson and
Thomas.
And Thomas. I like both those picks. Benson, I've got Connor.
He's going to get hurt.
Well, you don't want to wish bad on anyone, but statistically speaking, generally misses a couple of games. And if that happens early in the year, say he doesn't have an ACL or an Achilles, and he just has,
and Benson's on fire, and
he has a knee soreness, and Benson, there's a good chance Benson can come and take his job.
And I really liked Benson compared to Brooks and Blake, what's his last
Coram?
name? Coram. As like the top 3 running backs taken in the draft. He was my favourite of the rookies. He's just so explosive. Home run threat from anywhere. So, and good size. So, really, I think he's going to be heir apparent there for Arizona. And it's just, whether he takes that job this year or next year.
And in a keeping league, I think very smart pick.
Yep.
Other sort of rookie running backs, we have Lloyd from...
Marshall Lloyd,
from
especially with
Green Bay with AJ Dillon being out on IR. So does he come back mid-season? Have they put a line in him for the season?
I think it's season ending.
I think
IR.
they said. I think he's having neck surgery.
Yeah, because it's
what's going on with him.
Because it was pre-cuts. So if you put him on IR before cuts, then it's season ending.
Yeah,
which is the same thing that happened to Elijah Mitchell over at 49ers as well. And I really like Mason over there as a handcuff for CMC. So if anything happens to CMC, Mason, I think, is going to have a ginormous year. Yeah, season-ending injured reserve, neck injury, which is not good for a big fella.
For mine, either it's a tactical roster move or he's having neck surgery.
Yeah, I think that said at the top he's having neck surgery in the head title. Yeah.
It says neck. I don't think it says surgery.
No, it's just
so neck injury and neck surgery, 2 different things.
Yeah, true.
But anyways, regardless, it's his season on ice, and Marshawn Lloyd comes in, 3rd round pick. Maybe an interesting one. Certainly if Jacobs gets hurt.
Yep.
But yeah, he'll be one to watch. I think Brooks from Carolina, probably a reasonably safe draft pick.
Yeah, he's going to sit for the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, you just have to sit him for a while.
But yeah, he's only got to beat out Jabba
Hubba.
to get that starting spot there. So
What do you think about the running back room in Cleveland? I went pretty bullish on Jerome Ford.
Well, they let Foreman go, so Ford's basically going to be the starter.
It's how healthy can Nick Chubb get, how quick.
Yeah, and outside of the big powerlifting videos from Chubb, he's going to miss at least for the first 4 games and see if he's right at 5. But
4 to 6 weeks.
with that,
4 to 6 of that
but I think they say on average with that sort of injury and his sort of age, it's like a 30% dip in production is projected.
Yeah.
But he's also Nick Chubb, and maybe he has an AP season. AP came back from ACL and in record time, and almost went for 2K that year. So,
I think the traumatic nature of that injury as well, like the slow-mo, like watching that knee.
And the second time it's happened to him as well.
And the second time plays into, the odds being stacked against him.
But he's also a freak. So
Freak athlete, and pre-injury, I wouldn't laugh if you said Nick Chubb's best running back in the league.
Yep, agree.
So, we'll see. I think football fans will certainly want to see the return of the Chubb. Receivers, we spoke a lot about that top end. We spoke a lot about them with their contracts. Tyreek Hill also needs to be mentioned there. AJ Brown as well. And then again, that's sort of that elite level first rounders probably.
Guys that get lots of targets and have good quarterbacks, and then you go into guys that have lots of targets, maybe aging, quarterback's not as good, or you get to like Malik Neighbours where you've got shit quarterback, but he might get 150 good targets this year. So
I think we've got our elites that we've already mentioned. Lamb, Hill, St. Brown, Jefferson.
Jefferson's probably the biggest question mark.
Chase, quarterback play is going to be hard.
Quarterback, but he should get bulk touches. So.
Also the best receiver through 4 years ever, and missed half of last season. So I think he's going to be fine. My probably first question mark, and that's when I would start. Tier 2 would be at Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
Puka Nakua, incredible. How's he going to go being possibly a number 2 receiver?
Yep.
Big question marks around Devontae Adams. I think anyone that watched receiver could see obviously all the tension there.
Well, the Raiders team I think is going to be a big challenge. They got Minshew playing quarterback, and we'll have to see how well they do. But outside Adams, they don't really have a lot of options. I think Myers is probably the only other one, and he's been a little bit banged up, I think.
Marvin Harrison, generational talent. He's still a rookie. Kyler coming back.
Big expectations, but you have to see.
So, again, all these guys are going to be serviceable. They're all going to be completely startable. I just have them in Tier 2. But that Tier 2 is fat. Like, you can have Metcalf, Amari Cooper.
Mike Evans.
Guaranteed
go for 1,000. So DJ Moore, I
Ayuk,
think's really good.
DJ Moore, Alave,
Yeah.
Neighbours you mentioned, Scary Terry, Devontae Smith, Debo. Then when does tier 2 drop off? Mike Pittman, I think, is pretty reasonable. Is it Rashid Rice? Question marks around. Is he going to cop a suspension? If not, you might have got Pat Mahomes' favourite target in the 6th round. Like receivers deep.
Yep.
And then tight ends, I think is fun. Okay, it's obviously we've got an aging Kelsey, we've got an aging Ish Kittle, and probably a better real football player than he is a fantasy football player due to the blocking.
Yes.
So we may have a bit of a changing of the guard.
Yeah, and a target heavy team over there that's stealing, looks his way as well. So, like Mark Andrews, I think, has got a better outlook for potential
the
targets.
situation.
Yeah, and then you got the young fellas that came out last year, Kincaid, Laporta, of course, and McBride, I think, is the other one that kind of...
Yeah, those young guys there, and how good can Brock Bowers be in his first season as well. A definite feeling of changing of the guard, some younger guys that are going to establish themselves as the leaders. Could definitely see Mark Andrews being number one, and let's not forget Travis Kelce's still
pretty good.
Very fucking good.
Not a really good quarterback.
Very, very fucking good at football. You had a bit of a funny one last night. You said that you don't draft kickers in at all. We have a league that has a kicker, so you'll need a kicker by Friday.
Yep.
Just in case someone gets shot or
someone dies between now and
I
then.
suppose we're going to have a little laugh about it because apparently he's okay. It's only half true, but Ricky Purcell,
still alive,
who is the first round wide receiver from the 49ers, got shot, unfortunately, today.
Yeah, was on his way to an autograph session, and a young teenager, I think he was 17, wanted his Rolex, and they had a scuffle over a gun. They haven't confirmed whether it was Ricky's or the young fella's one, but yeah, they've both ended up getting shot, and Ricky got it in the chest. There's a video of him getting the ambulance. It looks like it's lower ribs, like under his pec on his right side. So so they were careful getting him in the ambulance and stuff like that. But all accounts, he's. I think they say critical but stable, but I guess that's because he's critical. He's been shot.
Yeah,
he's
in the chest.
In the chest,
Yeah.
but he's stable. That he's it's not life threatening. So hopefully he'll be okay. He's probably going to miss the start of the year.
First half of the season, you'd think. Yeah,
Was
it was Brian Robertson that
same
got
thing
shot.
happens.
Similar situation.
Trying to nick his car, and it's just wild west over there in some sometimes.
Yeah, in some regards, it's very different to what we're used to over here.
Yeah.
I do have to say, Brian Robinson coming back to that home game, coming out to 50 Cent, Many Men, was pretty fucking sick.
Yeah.
So we might see something similar for Ricky Pearsall sort of mid-season this year.
Yep.
Quarterback watch, week 1. We've got a few that'll be starting, a few that'll be sitting, and one that's injured. Sean, run us through it.
Yeah, well, Callum Williams is going to start for Titans. Jalen Daniels is going to start for the Bucks. Drake May will be the backup for Jacob Brissett. And
what week does Drake May come in for Jacoby Brissett in your estimation?
Oh, whenever Jacob gets his first concussion.
Poor fella.
Poor fella. Yeah, well, he's already been injured. He got injured in that preseason game.
He's quite injury prone.
Yeah, so I think they'll try to keep him as the starter for as long as possible, but maybe a month. We'll see. Hopefully it's longer for
Going to be as well how good are these Patriots going? Yeah. By all accounts, going to be the worst team in the AFC East. If they're
devoid of talent. So
if they're 0-4, I think they just got to bite the bullet and start getting in some reps.
Yep, agree.
Very different situation at Atlanta.
Yep, for Michael Penix. He'll be the backup to Kirk Cousins, and that'll probably be his job for the year.
Yep, provided there's no Cousins injury. I don't think Penix plays.
Yep, agree. And then we talked about JJ McCarthy previously on injured reserve with the ACL injury, and I guess
we mentioned him. So McCarthy, we were talking about a pre-show. He is going to be the first-round quarterback to miss the entire
Commanders
season due to injury.
Wait, I'm pretty sure that's a Scheffner tweet too, by the way.
What are we talking about?
Really? Jaden Daniels starts for the Commanders.
Commanders.
Oh, yeah. That's just notes that are written wrong.
Yeah. No, all good. I was like, wait, this is news to me. Who the hell is Jaden Daniels?
Thank you for the fact check.
We got the second pick. That's sick.
Yeah.
That's right. Write shit and say shit that's not true all the time. Jaden Daniels, Commanders.
Commanders, yes. JJ McCarthy,
Yes,
as
so-
we mentioned, first round quarterback to miss the entire season, his debut season, due to injury.
Which is crazy. I
Yeah.
can't believe that
Wild,
never happened
yeah.
before. Yeah. I suppose there's a caveat there. If there's any injury concern going into the season,
Probably not going to be a first.
and if they're going to start him, they're probably not playing a whole preseason.
Exactly.
So there's probably a few contributing factors there.
Yeah. And then the last one from the first round was Bo Nix, and he'll get the start for the Broncos against Seattle.
That's what it starts at Bucks. So
Starts at backs.
So he's playing for the Commanders at
At
Bucks.
Bucks. Yes.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah. We got 4.5 days until football is back. We love it here on the Esky. Definitely one of our favourite American sports. But football is already back in some regards. We'll have a quick look at what
Opening
happened in
week for
college
college
football today. I watched bits and pieces. KO's got a bunch of college games, which is good.
Yeah, I think a lot of the first week's games were
Tune-up games.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of dominations, one-sided games out of this one.
To quote the great Adam Sandler, what's it called? Longest yard. I'm thinking about the quote too much. What do we used to have when you're at Miami? We play a tune-up game, Appalachian State, kick the shit out of them, something like that. Can't remember the movie's name. So there's a few tune-up games for some big names, big ranked teams: Tennessee, Ohio State, Texas, Bama, Oklahoma, Utah, Ole Miss, all running up fucking basketball scores on their poor opponents. In fact, one of them was Ole Miss, where Tata Iora McMillan, he's a big 6'5" Hawaiian at Ole Miss.
Big receivers at Ole Miss.
Sorry, he's at Arizona.
He's at Arizona.
He's at Arizona. Sorry, but yeah, big Hawaiian guy. 10 catches, 304 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he did that before the fourth quarter as well. I think he shut him down halfway through the fourth. So
Pretty handy day at the office.
yes, good warm up there.
Look for him in the first round next year.
But I thought it was interesting in Miami beating Florida. So I guess a bit of the interstate rivalry there. And then of Intra, that's the word I was looking
Anyways.
for. And then Georgia beating Clemson. Clemson, a big name, but kind of fallen off recently post Jesus going to the NFL. So, when the Georgia Bulldogs are going to be good.
Yeah, Georgia's ranked 1. I think they showed good reason today because Clemson's still meant to be pretty good at 14 and they didn't let them score a touchdown. So go Dogs, they're going to be hard to beat. And nice little story for Arch Manning throwing his first 2 touchdowns coming in garbage time. I won't get the starting job unless there's injury.
Yeah, exactly. He'll have to wait until, is it Owens?
Ewers. Ram Ewers.
Yeah, it goes to, leaves and goes to the NFL. But yeah, Archie's got his time there.
Still
and
like 19 or something, isn't he?
Yeah,
20?
exactly.
He's not
And I think he was 8 from 9 and for about 100 and threw 2 touchdowns in this. And yeah, Texans absolutely hammered him.
Football, let's go. Let's go from America's game over to the biggest game over in the UK. I'm talking football. The APL is 3 in their third weekend right now. City, the only team to win all 3. Liverpool
Play
go out and
this
probably
evening.
probably go out and beat United, I think, in a few hours' time. Let's quickly run through some of the results, and probably the big story from the weekend was Raheem Sterling to Arsenal. Chelsea going to pay out a fair bit of his contract, so he's making 100,000 quid a week from Arsenal and 225 from Chelsea.
Steal for Arsenal.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. They didn't get the win last night. Brighton have started the season pretty well. That was a 1-1 draw. Interesting story here. Given that we haven't spoken EPL just yet, I think it's a good story. James Milner, he's aged 38. He'll turn 39 this season. He debuted for Leeds back in 2002. 636 games in the top flight. Gareth Barry is number 1. Milner's 2 with 653. Provided doesn't get injured, he'll go number 1 this year. Has had stints at Liverpool, Leeds, and is in his second season at Brighton. Evan, did you boys see the highlights from this?
No, I didn't, but I did see that there. It was
like-
stuck on the bottom.
This game, Bournemouth scored the 3 goals in like extra time or something, wasn't it?
Two of them.
Essentially,
Two
yeah.
of them.
Two in extra time and one at 87 minutes.
Yeah.
Like just complete, like biggest bed shit that I think I've seen in recent memory. So the score was 2-0 at the 86th minute.
Yep.
And then Bournemouth score, and then they equalise in extra time and win in extra time. So it was like 87th, 93rd, 96th.
Yeah.
And it was like
Yeah,
the
that's
last
right.
play, and they were both headed goals, and like the Everton defenders were just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" like we've gone from 3 points to we've given up an equaliser to losing,
To
like,
losing,
within
And being buried at the bottom.
yeah, so it's going to be a very tall ask for him. It's early, at least, is the saving grace. Yeah. Villa beat Leicester, Wolves, and not Forest played out a draw. Ipswich Town up in the Premier League. That's Ed Sheeran's team, so seen a fair bit of him getting around at games. They drew with Fulham. Brentford looking pretty handy, 3-1 winners over Southampton. Man City, 3-1 winners over West Ham. Geez, we missed a Viking at the Euros. It's pretty bit of a shame, I think, for Norway not to be able to qualify. It goes a lot to how strong Europe is compared to anywhere else. But to have Odegaard and Haaland playing together, I think they'll be playing some big tournament football soon. But yeah, the last few rounds we've been reminded as to who the best striker is in the world, even if he wasn't at the Euros. Handy finishes as well. The last one, chipping the keeper, he's very good. Newcastle, Spurs, Chelsea and Palace, they're playing right now. United, Liverpool later tonight. You like Arne Slot slotting in there for the first few?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched any games yet.
I think they've played the middle of the night
catch
games,
up.
I think.
Yeah. I do need to do a bit of catching up on the EPL.
Well, you can watch a little bit before bed. I'm just conscious of the time now, and that we're at 2:40. Ian, we do have a quick final round anyways. And you boys catch this story. So there's an Aussie, Patrick Yazbek. I just watched a video on the drive over to here. This was his first game in
It's a term of endearment, bro.
in the MLS.
How did he use it?
I don't actually know what word was used. I've got a sneaking suspicion it was see you next Tuesday, as we like to say down here, as a term of endearment. It really depends on what was said before that word. So if he said you're a shit, see you next Tuesday, or
no, I think he was calling for the ball. He's going here.
Well, I don't think it was to his teammate. I think it was definitely to another team, a player from the other team. I thought when I first read this, was race involved?
Yeah.
Did he call him a...
But they've said Aussie slang, so...
when I heard it, I was like, surely he's just called him a colour, see you next Tuesday, or a something,
I get what you're saying,
or put a sexual connotation on it, put it that way.
Yep.
I don't think that's happened. I think he just used the C word.
The C word,
So... For any US listeners that are catching this, if that was to be implemented here in any football code,
half the
we
NRL
would have no players left. There would be like,
we'd be playing Rezzies.
Imagine in NRL,
every week.
the ref probably says it.
Get back in the line. Yes.
It reminds me of a great Arch Barker bit when he goes, we're 2 hours 40 minutes we're on the podcast. When he goes, man, you guys are on a different level of swearing down here. I came into Sydney, I was asking this guy for directions, and he said, yeah, mate, fucking turn left over here, fucking turn right down here, 3 blocks down that way, and the cunt's right in front of you. I said, thank you, officer. Sorry, Arch, for butchering your joke. It is an old one. But yeah, funny story. Patrick Yazbek, 2 games and has to have some counselling or some shit. I don't know. Funny story.
Yeah, it's a term of endearment, bro.
provided there was nothing said in front of it, which I don't think has happened. Clash of cultures there, obviously. Marks, you've got the story there. You can't see anything. You can't actually... Well, he does say it's been revealed that Yazbek dropped a C-bomb on his opponent, which resulted in his suspension.
Yep. The game was stopped for 5 minutes by the referee to sort this one out. So.
It's like, I've never heard this word before.
The cultural clashes here are so funny. We're talking about NFL players getting shot.
Yeah.
And then we're like, a soccer player dropped the C-bomb.
Yeah.
He's fucking out for 2
Hey,
games.
the under 10s are saying that.
What are you looking at, kid? It's good to have a laugh, boys. All right, let's run it into a quick final round. That's a funny story. It was 2 weeks ago. We haven't spoken about it. Let's quickly cover it.
It was here.
2 weeks is old news in the sports podcast world, that is for sure. Dricus Duplessis,
Faf.
and still not Faf Duplessis, beats Izzy, has the true crown of Africa in the UFC middleweight division. Pretty good fight. DDP wins, doesn't let it go to the judges. Izzy never been submitted like that before? I think that's the first time.
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
I don't think he's ever. I'm pretty sure he's never been submitted. In the
not
UFC.
not in quite a while.
I don't think he's ever been submitted.
Because he
Chase
come
that.
from a kickboxing background and maybe in like a first UFC fight, but I doubt it because he went on his like 10-win streak and then got the title. So, yeah, I don't think so.
Might as well chase that up anyways.
You can have a look at his losses there.
So decision to Strickland, KO to Pereira, which is the
Nothing recent. What's that one there?
Blahovic was decision, and before that he hadn't lost.
Yeah,
So,
and
he'd never been submitted in professional
Yep.
MMA bout.
Yeah, but of course he was knocked down and was on wobbly legs up leading up to that. So
Yeah, so he could have been KO'd.
yeah, it could have been, TK could have been the way that it went, but to say just jumped on the neck and that's all she wrote. I think it was a pretty good fight by all accounts. I reckon Izzy might be up a couple of rounds as well.
Yeah, early.
Controlling, but I think you got to give Duplessis the credit for his street brawler kind of style that he just finds ways to win. And he obviously hits very hard and has the ability to land a shot that really can stun you and then has the skill set to finish off. So, yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting fight from that regard and still makes the middleweight division very fun. Strickland's probably there. Whitaker's probably not far away, depending on the fight with Hamzat and whether Alex Pereira wants to come back down.
Have they confirmed that Strickland is going to run it back?
I think that's what they're looking towards as the next one, but it's not
Not
official.
confirmed. Other fights on that card, a little bit disappointing for the Aussies. Kaikara France getting the early stoppage against Steve Ersic. Dan Hooker, interesting for the Kiwi.
Big jump for him.
Yeah, to get out and beat Gamrot, who was heavily fancied in that one. And
He
Rose
gets the fifth ranking in the lightweight division, so he's right up there.
and Rosenstrike beating Tai Tuivasa via split decision, after which the judge got the boot.
Boot, yeah.
Yeah, he said the C word, and they were like, hey, yeah. They're like, oh, fuck, yeah, we're in Australia. Great card, good to see Perth. Mate, what a weekend for WA people, because the Wallabies played in Perth, unfortunately lost that night. So another big tick for South Africans. And Freo had their must-win game after the UFC was on. So if you wanted to have a big weekend in Perth that weekend, you could have gone Wallabies, UFC, Freo. Massive for the jewel of the West. We've got 2 weeks until UFC 306. We better talk about it briefly now. Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean, Sugar Show gets Merab Dvalishvili in the bantamweight division. Pretty heavily fancied, I'd reckon. Monks, if you wouldn't mind getting some odds for that one.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because the wrestling will be the challenge, but then O'Malley did well against Aljamain. So we will see. You can't doubt the dude's talent from a striking aspect. But
As long as his takedown defense is on point, he's not going to lose that. If it stays standing up, I wouldn't think.
yeah, but you got to also remember that his opponent is very fucking good. So
Yeah. And again, like I said, it's just flip it. If he gets taken down, he's in fucking trouble.
yeah, it's biblical.
So this is interesting. I would have thought Sugar Sean would be a reasonably handy favourite. This
I think would be more closer than that.
pretty much even money, Monks.
Yep, no, it is. So Merab is favourite. It's $1.86, and Sean O'Malley is at $1.94. No other markets just yet. So
Stay tuned.
yeah.
Dvalishvili is 33. 17 and 4. He's put away some pretty handy fighters of late. Cejudo, Yarn, Aldo.
He's defeated the who's who of the divisions.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where his losses were. Hasn't lost since 2018, where he got choked out, and the loss before that was split decision. Can't see him getting knocked out very often, or ever.
Yeah, not in a long time.
Ever, I don't think.
Okay,
There's
no,
a choke,
there's
decision,
back fist there.
decision. That's him winning.
Oh, it's him winning. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think I don't think
I need to learn to read.
I don't think he's been knocked out. So interesting for a guy that has knockout power and pretty much always wins by knockout to go up against a guy who's never been knocked out.
Yeah, some interesting things about him and Stitches recently, floating around on social media, but he should be right for this fight.
This regarding the big gash.
Yeah, he had a little cut in training, like during the week. So he had video of him getting the stitches, and then that pissed off the UFC. It's like, don't put that out there because
It's 2 weeks out.
Yeah, 2 weeks out. It's cut.
Pissed off Dana White.
Yeah, Dana mostly. Yeah. And then there's another video.
Was there much in it?
No, but he does. You don't want to be showing cuts leading into a title fight,
Sure.
essentially. But then it's a small cut, and then there's like two, 3 stitches. And then there's another video of him cutting out the dregs of the stitches after it's healed. So and then the following day he was out partying in Mexico somewhere. So he's a wild man.
Seriously.
Yeah, he's a wild man.
Yep.
So I think he's confident.
You know who else used to do that? John Jones.
Yeah.
So, maybe confidence is key here.
Yeah. And the co-main in that, I think, is the
girls, I think. Alexa Grasso taking on Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, running it back for the
big one
one there.
yeah.
So, that's a pretty interesting fight there. And then the Diego Lopez and
Brian Ortega.
That's a rebooking of the one that Ortega got sick on a couple of weeks ago.
I think back end of this card, maybe not as interesting, but obviously the 2 title fights pretty sweet.
What's interesting, they're going head-to-head with Canelo as well. And that, by all accounts, that Canelo fight is selling a lot better than the UFC one is.
Yeah. Where is that?
Mexico, I think, because it's...
that makes sense.
It's, that weekend.
Yeah. And this is the one at the Sphere, hey?
Correct.
Yeah.
Ticket price, maybe?
Yeah, significant.
Yeah. Okay, that's probably playing into things.
Yeah, but
It'll
the experience.
Sick event. But I'm thinking if I'm over there and I'm the Aussie punter and I've got a bit
There's
of...
no Australians on the card. And
and I'm talking about my financial situation.
I don't know
if
a
I've
couple
got
grand lying around.
Right, I don't know if I can go get a tour of that thing. Let alone, go and watch UFC there.
Yep.
Definitely, yeah.
A bit of F1. Monza tonight. What's
how to switch it? The race is about to start.
It's about 3 minutes.
Yeah. So Lando got pole. Oscar is starting second. So McLaren are coming for that constructors championship. They're only 30 points behind now.
Yep.
Max is going to start 7th with Perez 8th. So they're going to have a real challenge in this race. It's a very high speed track here at Monza. So. McLaren are heavy favourites for this one. Mercedes have been pretty good as well, and whether Ferrari can stay in touch will be interesting. In the driver news, Jack Doohan got officially confirmed for Alpine next year with Gasly. Kimi Antonelli, I think you say your name, but say his name, is confirmed to go to Mercedes, the 18-year-old. And then Logan Sargent, who crashed last week in FP2, I think it was, has been given the boot already this season, and Franco... I don't know how to say his last name, but he's an Italian.
I'm trying to get these Italian drivers up. What?
It's there. So Franco Pinto.
Colapinto?
Yeah. So first Italian, I think, in 20 years.
You know how to say that Italian? It's exactly like that.
With the hand.
For those listening, like it's a phonetic name, Colapinto, but then just put it in an Italian accent and then just Colapinto. There you go.
So starting to heat up. Still a long way for Lando potentially to get the drivers' championship, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, especially in a race like this with starting 7th.
Well, no, fun fact with Monza, person who places pole has not won in 5 years.
Really?
Yep.
Oscar's in second place.
Oscar, let's go.
Yeah.
So we got Piastri and Doohan confirmed for next year, and Ricciardo is still 50-50, so you never know, he might get the 3 Australians. It looks, but then again, if Ricciardo's out, maybe Liam Lawson comes in and will claim the Anzac.
Have we potted since Piastri won Hungary?
Yes, we did. We
did?
talked about it. We talked about it on the last one.
Okay. Good memory.
Yep. We talked about it.
Talked about a lot of shit on this. Anything else to add from Monza?
No, it's about to start, and hopefully the Aussies do well. Ricardo's 12th starting, I think. Outscored Yuki as well, so that's good for him and his competition for a seat.
There is so much fucking sport on.
I know. Get him out.
Go, get him out. Shout out to Alexi Popperin. This was very close to shout a beer worthy,
Yes.
but
Knocking out the Joker.
Yeah, the Joker is gone from the US Open, and it also means no majors for the Joker this year. Did get that elusive gold medal.
What was it interesting? Yeah, what was interesting? The 3 medalists from the Olympics are already knocked out in the US Open.
Wow. Alcaraz and
He got the silver
who
and
got
I
the
don't remember
bronze.
who got the bronze, but he also got knocked out.
Someone did Sinner's still in. Let's have a look. So they're up to round of 16.
Yeah.
Sinner, Paul.
So some interesting stuff about Sinner with his doping.
Well, what
So
they
some
say,
booing.
the physio had
Rub some cream
rubbed
on
some
him.
illicit cream into him.
That's right.
My day job's physio. I don't know. I think this sounds like a very good fall job from his physio.
I remember Ray Lewis and his steroid cream on his arm at one point. To me, it sounds more like needles. But anyway.
I think and this is all allegedly. Anyway. If
Small amount.
That's right. If there was something in there that shouldn't have been, and Sinner was aware
And he
of
failed
it,
2 tests.
Allegedly. No, well, that's not alleged. That is true.
True, that is definitely
but
true.
what I'm about to say is just alleged. If Sinner has been juicing up, he needs to go talk to his juice man because his arms are not Nadal's arms at all.
Yeah, but maybe he's gone the Lance Armstrong
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
aspect of it because that's the type of sport. But I think the 2-tier system, as you will, where maybe Sinner's getting a bit of favouritism being up the top there, and there's other people been lower in the division. And that was. I think Kyrgios actually was talking about this, having 12-month, 18-month, 2-year suspensions for similar instances, but because they're lower in the tour rankings, they're not getting the same love. So, yeah, interesting.
Sinner is in there. He's the number 1 seed. He takes on Paul, Medvedev, Borges, Draper, Mashak. Sorry for any mispronunciations. Interesting, the Aussies get each other in the Demon and Jordan Thompson going up against each other. Casper Ruud, Taylor Fritz, Nakashima and Zverev, Rublev and Dimitrov, and our boy, Australia's favourite son over the last 24 hours, Alexi Popperin, going out and beating Novak Djokovic in the 3rd round, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, 6-2, 6-4. Yep. Just wanted to say that. That's probably some mags for shit podcasting. But anyways, Alexi Popperin, get around him. Does mean in the men's, there is 3 Aussies in the 4th round. Look, still some massive names there.
Sinner's the big one.
Yeah, Sinner the big one, but Zverev, Medvedev, Rublev, all pretty handy amongst others. But our best shot at a men's champion in a long, long time.
Definitely.
Let me jump over to the women. That's qualifying. Give me 1 sec. Give us a bit of fill time here, boys. How are we going in the race? They started just yet?
They're about to line up, and then we'll get the start. They're waiting for the last driver to come in, which is the Saubers, who are being dreadful so far this season. They're going to have a new driver line up next year.
Thank you. Great fill. Ladies that are still left, Swiatek, Sabalenka, Goff. So kind of the opposite of the Olympics. All the big names kind of bummed out in the Olympics or weren't there due to, there's some war going on. So Swiatek, Sabalenka, Goff, Paulini, Pegula, Chin Weng. That's seeds 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, all ready to go. Is that someone out in the race?
Yeah, George goes wide, but he's going to have to give that position back. He will lose a position.
What the hell is that thing that they just went through?
Yeah,
The
so
little chicanes.
the runoff area, so he doesn't get any gain advantage. He's got to go around it.
Yeah. There you
Or
go.
Oscar down the outside.
Oh, get him. Oh!
Jesus, he's
so
he's
close.
taken it, and then that's forced Lando to lose another position to is that Charles or Science? It's going to be one of them. He might lose 2 positions. He's a bit off the pace.
Is that Oscar way out in front now?
Yeah, Oscar's in the lead.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's wrap this bitch up. We got golf.
Yep.
So let's wrap this bitch up with the richest golf tournament in all time ever. Monks, can you get us a leaderboard? Last I saw, it's Chefs to lose. Scotty Scheffler has had one of the all-time years. He's won 2 majors. He's won an Olympic gold medal, and he's won a shit ton of money. And in about 12 hours' time, he could have a shit ton of more money because the purse for this one is $100 million US, of which $100 million, of which first place takes $25 million US. Interesting format that the PGA has been going into the FedEx Cup over the last few
playoffs.
years. Yeah,
Really like it.
Yeah, so it essentially gives you an advantage for playing well throughout the season. So winner starts from 10 under, was it?
Yep.
And then it goes to
And
8
then
under
works
for
its way down.
second, and then I think sequentially back from there to fill out the field of 30. So you play well throughout the year, gives you a good chance of winning on final day. Now, Scotty has been in this position twice before and hasn't been able to win the elusive FedEx Cup. Just about the only thing he hasn't won over the last few years.
Yep.
And going into Sunday, I believe was still leading. How's he looking there, Monks?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, 26 under. Morikara is 21 under. It would take some kind of almighty bed shitting from Scotty to not win his $25 million tomorrow, being 5 shots out in front. And it's essentially a 2-horse race with Thagala, 9 shots back at 17 under. Shawfley at 16, Wyndham Clark 15, Adam Scott, good on him, at 15 under.
Yep.
So looks like they're playing for second and third here, and we talk about people being deserved of things, I think, in sport. The Dragons probably not deserving, unfortunately, of playing finals footy. Scotty Scheffler, on the other hand, deserving, I think, a big bag of money given the way that he's played this year.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a bang on 3 hours. It's about as long as we've gone in recent memory. Thank you to
lot to
anyone
catch up on.
that have gone the distance with us. It's September. It's a big time in the sporting world. If you're an Aussie, because it's footy finals, it's a big time for us as NFL fans. Plus, we've got the pinnacle of golf, tennis, F1 getting to the pointy end.
Yep.
Big things happening in BIFs. Paralympics. Shout out to all the amazing Olympians that we haven't even spoken about on this pod that are out there backing up especially the Aussie paras out there backing up the able-bodied from a few weeks ago. Seen people go out and swim with no limbs and doing crazy shit. I saw the 1,500 metre runners, the amputees going at it. Aussie just got run down the other night. And I was like, I wonder if I'd be as quick as a guy with one arm. And then I looked at the time and I was like, holy fuck. They're only like a touch behind like fully able people. It's incredible. How some of these athletes can perform, not being fully able. So shout out to all of them. What next time we're on, whether that's a couple of weeks, it was just about a month between drinks here, we'll have footy
finals.
Real like pointy end. We'll have the first look at how the NFL season's going to be shaping up. Same with the APL, although APL goes much longer. And we'll be pretty close to having a look at the NBA.
Yes.
Yeah, true.
Tune in next time here on the Esky. We'll clip up a few funny things, please. If you're here listening this deep, chuck us a subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Insta. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time to talk all things Aussie sport, all things US sport, all things world sport. Sean Monks, it's been a pleasure as always. Enjoy the rest of this F1 race. I might even catch a bit of EPL before I go to bed.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.